the courtroom.
Christian Sanchez is suing his former employer, Juan Vasquez, for unpaid work and defamation of character.
Court come to order. All rise.
Be seated, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2007, Sanchez versus Vasquez.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Sanchez, how old are you, sir?
I'm 26 years old.
And what is your educational background?
I have a bachelor's degree in film that I got from Full Sail University. I'm currently...
Slowly.
I'm sorry.
You have a bachelor's degree from?
Full Sail University.
Where is that?
Orlando, Florida.
Orlando, Florida. That I can hear. You have to understand, when you're dealing with someone of my age, you have to sort of factor that into your speech. People who are 26 may be able to follow you. I'm senior. I need people to speak slowly so that I can follow them.
I got you.
So you got a bachelor's degree from a university in Florida and graduated when?
I graduated in 2018.
And from there, what kind of work did you do?
From there, I jumped around a little bit. I did
Okay,
work...
you jumped around. Did your family live in Florida?
No, ma'am.
Where do they live?
They live in Beaumont, Texas.
Did you live with them at all in Beaumont?
No, ma'am.
After college?
Not until the pandemic.
Okay, well, the pandemic was in 2020.
Yes.
So you graduated in June of 2018, and then the pandemic started on or about March of 2020.
Yes, ma'am.
And in March of 2020, you went home to your parents' house.
Yes.
And you stayed there until when?
I'm still currently there. I started going back to school, actually.
When did you start going back to school?
My first classes were in December of last year.
In Texas?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So you actually had a year and a half out of school when you were hopping around.
Yes, ma'am.
So I want you to tell me who you worked for in that year and a half.
I was an intern on a documentary.
Okay, and when was that?
That was about a few months after I graduated.
So maybe September, October?
Yeah, probably around there. I did a few independent films.
Okay, and what kind of work did you do for them?
Just kind of depended what they needed. It was mostly
Like a
PA
PA?
stuff. Yeah.
Like a PA. And for that work, were you paid as a PA?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much were you paid as a PA?
They paid me $75 a day.
Pay you in cash?
They paid me in cash.
Okay, so you did those couple of little projects, and then what?
I was also waiting tables at the time.
Okay, well, you got to eat.
Right. After the pandemic hit, my lease was up. I moved back home. Decided I would go back to school to get a tech job. I'm going for cybersecurity right now. I had heard through a family friend.
Okay, let's stop there. This case is, I don't think so difficult, but relatively interesting for me because we don't get them all the time. Mr. Vasquez, you were making a movie.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is this the first movie you ever made?
No, Your Honor.
How many movies have you made?
This was film number 5 for me. Written, directed, produced.
Is it a fiction piece or a documentary?
It's actually based on a true story.
So it's a docudrama?
Correct, yes.
See that? Are you impressed with that? There you go, a docudrama. How long a film?
90 to 100 minutes. We're still in post, still editing. So
Keep your voice up. Approximately how long?
100 minutes.
What was your budget?
It's still in
About what was your budget? Then you're going to tell me where you got the financing.
roughly 120,000.
Where did you get the money from?
A lot of it was my money and other producers.
How much did you put in?
Over 80,000.
And you've got other people in for about 40.
Yeah.
Did you make money on your other films?
I have, yes, in the past.
Okay, this is what the case is about. Mr. Sanchez says that he was hired by your company. And he was hired by your company to work on this last film that you were doing. And it was a paying job. And at the end of the period, he was not paid. And in addition, he says that when he complained about not being paid, you put out there on social media that you weren't paying him because he was on drugs. Is that what the case is basically about?
Basically. It wasn't on social media. It was through text messages he accused me of it, but...
Text messages?
Yes.
Well, that to me is almost social media. If it doesn't come to me by the U.S. Postal Service, I call it social media. I know. Okay. Did you answer an ad for this job?
No, I heard about it through a family friend.
And when did you meet Mr. Vasquez for the first time?
We didn't actually meet face-to-face until about Saturday, July 10th, 2021.
Did you communicate via text messages or
Yes, ma'am.
emails? Well, when was the first either text message or email?
The first text message was on Monday, the 28th, 2021 of June.
6/28/2021. May I see that, please?
Of course.
Christian hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
this one too. Sorry.
He hands another document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews a string of text messages.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. So you first met by email. You say you have one spot available for him as an internship, and then practically immediately thereafter, you say somebody's family is sick in the crew. You have a spot for him as an assistant director.
So, Your Honor.
I'm reading this. Well, you have to tell me what that means. I need a first AD. Someone's family is sick and they can't do it.
Correct.
So what is an AD?
He's basically going to assist me as a director, everything from...
Assistant to the director.
Correct.
Okay. I need a first AD. Someone's family is sick. So that's different from an internship.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I mean, we do have internships where people don't get paid, and then you have internships where they do get paid. Most people now pay their interns. Okay. And when you met, because clearly the last email that I just read suggests that you were approaching the door and you're 2 minutes away, and then you met the defendant. Tell me about that conversation.
Caption coming up.
The thing that I find most troubling here, actually, for the both of you, is he says that you told him not to tell the rest of the crew that he had COVID because they would freak out.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Christian and Juan.
Christian Sanchez claims filmmaker Juan Vasquez owes him for unpaid work. Juan says Christian was an unpaid intern.
Okay, and when you met, because clearly the last email that I just read suggests that you were approaching the door and you're 2 minutes away, and then you met the defendant. Tell me about that conversation.
So we met, we sat down. I kind of told him a little bit about my background, like I told you before. He kind of went over like what he was expecting me to do.
Just a second. I want you to tell me what he told you that he wanted you to do.
Managing the set, creating schedules, calling extras, making sure that they were there on time.
Is that what you told him?
Yes, basically assisting me whatever I needed.
Okay, that sounds like more than a PA.
We didn't ask for PAs. We didn't, there was no intention for PAs.
But what you outlined was clearly more. What did you agree to pay him?
Never agreed to pay him anything. So
Well, how could you do that?
he was an intern. He was presented to me as an intern.
No,
and
no,
that's-
no, not after this text message. He said he was looking for an internship, and you said to him, I have a better role for you. I need a first AD. Someone's family is sick. Whose family was sick? The name of the person.
I don't recall.
Okay. When you did a budget, did you have a budget for a first AD?
No, we
Nope.
didn't.
Careful. Did you have a budget for a first AD?
No, not that I remember. I usually don't use a first AD. So the terminology.
No. Listen, you know who produces this show? You want to be careful with what you say around people, who are buying your product.
Sure.
Right? Because you're going to be presenting them with budgets, eventually, hopefully for you. There's no question that if I got this text from you, Mr. Vasquez, I would say, oh my God, I'm going to get a different job, a better role, because he says I have a much better thing. Somebody who was supposed to do it got sick, they can't do it. That's a much different thing from what you describe as bringing me iced tea and setting up the coffee. That's a different role. What did he tell you he was going to pay you, sir?
He told me, verbally, he told me that...
Look, careful when you talk to me. At that meeting, that day, what did he tell you he was going to pay you?
$150 per day for 14 days.
How many days did you actually work on the set?
On the set, I worked 14 days.
It's a lie.
I got COVID on the last 2 days, and he asked me to work from home. And I still scheduled and did all that stuff.
I never asked him to work from home.
You got COVID the last 2 days, so you were actually there 12 days.
Physically there, but I was still
I
working
don't
for
care.
him.
Who knows? How do I know that?
I have text.
I would like to see the work that you did from home on day 13 and 14.
1,800 for 12 days, not including.
Okay.
On those specific days, I have it on my phone. Could I pull it up?
No, I want to see what you did. If you did work, you sent emails out, you sent scheduling out, and you would probably have to have a conversation with your boss and say, I have COVID, but I'll do whatever I could do from home.
I have all of that.
I'd like to see it.
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, if I may interject.
Yeah.
So he shows up to the set sick with COVID, gets everybody sick. I had a call the next day of filming because of that.
Are you talking about after he was there for 12 days?
Yes, I'm talking about that particular that particular part, but
I'm talking about he was there for 12 days. He didn't have COVID for 12 days.
we don't know that.
Well, who knows that? I don't know if you have COVID.
We just got tested, Your Honor.
Who knows if you have COVID? Who knows if I have COVID? All I know is I came to work today. I expect to be paid. I wouldn't come to work if I was sick and laying in bed and feeling nauseous and...
Your Honor, if you had a remote position, that'd be different. He didn't have a remote position.
I'm not talking about his 2 days. He was there 12
No,
days.
he did it throughout the course of the project. He was never on time.
I don't care if he was never on time. If he was never on time, sir, then you fire
There
him.
was days he was not on set.
Listen to me.
Okay.
He's never on time, then you tell him don't come back after the second day. But if you let him come for 12 days and do whatever he does, I mean, you know, Mr. Vasquez, I'm going to make this as painless for you as possible. There are some employees that I have had over the years that were terrific. Some not so terrific, some terrible. The terrible ones, who were really terrible, who I would have liked to have fired, period, I couldn't do it because of human resources.
Sure.
They have a whole protocol, volumes, like an Encyclopedia Britannica, what you have to go through to fire somebody who's not doing their job.
Right.
But you have to pay him until you can fire him. If you have him come to work, even if he's doing a terrible job, you still have to pay him. Now, if he goes home because he's sick and you're not giving him sick leave and you don't agree for him to work remotely, that's on him. Does that sound fair to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm so glad. Unless, of course, you agree to have him work remotely, then you have to pay him for 14 days.
Right.
It starts right there, Your Honor, and then the next 2 days follow it.
Kevin brings Christian's phone to Judy. She reviews a string of text messages.
JV, that's you?
Yes, ma'am.
JV, that's you. So you did, in fact, confer with him from home. Tell him to order food, to picking it up. I don't care if he worked for you for a half hour. He's not your friend. The thing that I find most troubling here, actually, for the both of you, is he says that you told him not to tell the rest of the crew that he had COVID because they would freak out.
Correct.
And he didn't tell the rest of the crew
As far
that
as
he
I
had
know.
COVID. Well, you told him not to. And he said, okay. Well, you have to know, as a good citizen, that's not the right thing to do. You do understand that.
And, you know, by not having him on the set, we thought that was proper protocol.
No, you're supposed to notify people who you came into close contact with. You know, I remember they had this whole contact tracing. I know people call all the time
the
and say, you
reality
know,
is, Your
we
Honor,
were out
everybody that
together a
was
month
on
ago.
the set,
What?
the reality is everybody that was on the set, we did discuss the fact that he had COVID, so people knew that.
I don't care whether people knew that. It says here, I won't say anything to the rest of the crew, like you said.
Yeah, because
I
didn't want
understand
to
that you don't want everyone to freak out. I just find that troubling. In any event,
it's
he
just like
clearly...
yelling bomb in an airport. You know, that would have created a bigger hysteria.
Well, that's what COVID is. COVID is a bomb in an
We
airport.
conveyed to everybody on the set what was going on. The reality is this man was presented as an intern, never said paid internship. Once he got on the set, he tried to strong arm us, then demanded the money once he had all the information on the set. We didn't hire him. We didn't post a job for him. We made a job for him because a producer called me up. This is when nepotism goes bad. This kid couldn't even order pizza, Your Honor. He spent $300 at Domino's. Who spends $300 at Domino's?
Mr. Vasquez, then you fire him.
I should have
Do you
fired him.
understand?
I should have fired him.
Then your recourse is to fire him. And you're a little company that doesn't have an HR department. Say, you know what, what's your first name?
Christian.
Christian. Christian, you're a nice guy, but it's not working out here. We're going to pay you for 3 days because that's what you were here. Don't come back. I'm going to get somebody else.
And we should have did that, Your Honor.
But that's what you should have done.
Yes.
But that's not what you did. You continued to use whatever limited services he provided, even when he was home with
limited,
COVID.
yes.
Even when he went home with COVID, you continued to ask him to do things for your company and for the film, and that you can't do without compensating him.
Caption, coming up.
You gave him a job, and if he didn't work out, say, what was the name of that woman from that show that says you're fired or something?
The weakest link.
Weakest link, that was the lady. She was terrific. Well, anyway, you say you're fired. That's easy.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Christian and Juan.
Christian Sanchez, has accused his former employer, Juan Vasquez, of not paying him for 14 days of work. Juan claims Christian was incompetent and never a paid employee.
Okay, even when he went home with COVID, you continued to ask him to do things for your company and for the film, and that you can't do without compensating him. You can't. Okay, so you owe him $2,100 because I assume you paid him nothing. Now, let's get to the second part of your claim, which is defamation. That I'd like to see. I mean, if you're going to be a producer, if you're going to make films, sir, you have to understand. Say you're not working out, you're fired. Something that I would love to be able to say a lot.
I agree.
Not
I
working
should have
out, you're
fired him
fired
right away.
without
That's never-
risking my house and my car and my dog.
I was taking him on as a basically.
I don't care what you were thinking.
producer
That's
called
not what
me,
you said.
Asked me to take him on. That's why I took him on.
He actually called me and told me how
Just
good
a
of a
second.
job I was doing.
It doesn't require an answer. Okay.
And I can show the messages how he came to be on the set. He was presented.
I don't care. Just a second. I don't care how he was presented to you. If your Aunt Tilly said, "Do me a favor, this is my godson."
It was his Aunt Tilly.
He hasn't been able to get a job since he graduated from college.
He hasn't made
He's
a job
home.
since he graduated from college.
He's home in the attic of his parents' house playing the
Lives with his
guitar.
parents.
We want him to have a job. It's irrelevant. You gave him a job, and if he didn't work out, say, what was the name of that woman from that show that says you're fired or something? Well, anyway, you say you're fired. That's easy. Do we remember the name of that woman from England who had a show where she said, "You're out, get out"? I don't know. She was terrific. Let me see.
The weakest link.
Weakest link. That was the lady. Perfect. Thank you.
And that's a direct text message to him that I never posted on social media.
Oh.
It was actually a group text.
Just a second. So, Mr. Vasquez, in here, you say to him, this is the second part of his case, which is for defamation. And that's okay. He didn't defame you.
Okay.
Sir, he said they're taking you out of the credits, but you were never promised credits.
In the contract, it says I am.
Let me see where in the contract it said you'd be in the credits. And I didn't even know there was a contract. I thought
He's
you had
also done this before.
Shh.
Kevin brings a document to Judy. She reviews it.
It says you employed him as an actor.
Your Honor, I'm signing actor agreements every day. He put that in front of me to sign. Why would I sign an actor agreement for a first AD?
Just a second. Sir, is this the agreement he put in front of you? Or did you?
I sign actor agreements every day on the.
You're a business guy.
Yeah.
I'm a business lady.
That looked like an
I
actor
don't
agreement.
sign
That's why I signed it.
actor agreement. That's what it says.
Yeah. He's not an actor.
Don't sign it. It says you agreed to pay him $150 a day for 4 days of shooting.
14.
14 days of shooting, and that he will be responsible for paying all the taxes on it. So he was going to be paid in
I didn't write that out, Your Honor.
Kevin, would you show this to him, please, and see if he can identify that as his signature? I'm going to check here to see if it's his signature. It looks like his signature to me. Mr. Vasquez, it appears to be the same signature that you used to sign the answer.
Yes, Your Honor.
So that's your signature?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and this says, actor shall receive a credit for acting in the film. Well, that's ridiculous. You didn't act in the film, right?
No, ma'am.
Well, we're going to strike that out because you can't perform that because you didn't act in the movie. Do you understand?
I understand, ma'am.
Okay, very good. And it's clear that whatever this says, based upon this, if you delete one part of a contract, let me see if I remember, if part of a contract, Sarah, is impossible to perform,
Then it's not fully integrated.
and one party acts on that contract, and you can retain part of the contract because of services that were rendered pursuant to the contract, you can eliminate one part.
Yes.
So I can eliminate the actor part of getting credit. So you're not getting credit on this. You're entitled to the $150 a day. As far as the defamation is concerned, sir, what he said in here was clear. He said he was told by someone else, which is very possible. And the only thing that you can produce for me today is this fellow who said you tried to put together a little bit of a drug transaction. Are you?
No.
Well, then you're irrelevant. You can produce, because if he says, told me, then he's not saying you did this. He put it in a text to you that
He
this
said
is
it
what
in
he was told.
retaliation whenever I served him the night before. The very next morning, he sent me that text message.
I don't care. I don't care. He's not a great businessman. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,100. Thank you very much. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Christian then won.
I thought she was very fair. I'm really, really happy with how the judgment came out.
He was an intern. Interns aren't paid. It never said paid internship.
He tried to avoid signing a contract at first.
The reality is, with a budget, we would love to pay the kid, but he cost us more money than he was actually worth.
He lies constantly. Nothing's ever his fault. He always makes up a new scenario in which he's the victim.
He couldn't even order pizza. I mean, who spends $300 at Domino's?
Handed me the actor's agreement, told me to sign it.
No more nepotism. If I don't know him, I haven't vetted him. I don't want them on the project.
A little bit weird, but it had everything.
And this kid is going to go be a cybersecurity guy.
Always save your receipts, dude. Always just keep any sort of communications, even if it's a phone call, send a text or an email that just recaps what you said.
I was so happy to vent for a moment on the current inability to fire inept people and to fire people who aren't doing their job, which has been getting worse over the last quarter of century. I actually believe that HR is a vital service for people who are unjustly, based on something other than their performance, treated badly by an employer. And harassment in the workplace, I think, is important. Anyway, I got that out of my system. The contract.
Yeah, the contract. I think it was unenforceable to begin because I think the form was clearly erroneous. It wasn't the proper form. He wasn't an actor. Both of them knew he wasn't an actor. Right. However, it was signed by both parties, and there was substantial performance on behalf of the plaintiff by showing up to work every day, performing his duties under the contract. So as soon as he substantially performed the contract, the defendant can't then claim it's unenforceable.
First of all, because he's not an actor.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
The Judy Justice logo appears.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv. C. Jennings Spencer is suing her cousin, Chris Jennings, for a loan to cover funeral costs.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2009, Jenny Spencer versus Jenny.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Spencer, are you related to Mr. Jennings?
I am.
How?
He's my cousin.
How?
On our dad's side. So his father and my father, that's how we're related.
How were they related?
So his dad and my father are pretty close in age, but they are cousins themselves. But my dad is pretty young, so they're close. My dad and his father are close in age, so they were more like brothers.
I still don't understand.
My father and his father were first cousins, but I was raised by my grandparents, so that's why we're close.
Okay, so your fathers were first cousins?
Yes.
Okay. Your mother passed away.
Yes, ma'am.
When?
Mother's Day on 2020.
Were you close to your mother?
I was very close.
Did you live together?
I was taking care of her for 8 years while she was...
So you were living with her?
Yes, ma'am.
How old was she when she passed away?
58.
What did she pass away from?
Her arteries had blockage. She had surgery twice, and they couldn't do the third surgery. Plus, she had 3 strokes.
When you were taking care of your mother, was that a full-time responsibility?
Full-time. She had a colostomy bag, and plus she was in a walker before she had the strokes.
Was it just you and your mother living together?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it in her home?
It was in my home.
In your home?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that an apartment?
It was a house.
That you rented?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you and your mother support yourself?
I'm an RF technician, so I worked when I could be away from home, but when she got real bad sick, where she couldn't even walk, I couldn't even work, so I couldn't even go out of town. So I work on the road a lot. And she gets a disability check, which is about $1,800, which wasn't much at all for us to survive.
Are you back at work now?
Yes, ma'am.
Who are you working for?
Myself. I'm a contractor, Extreme Communications.
When your mother passed away, Mr. Jennings, are you an only child?
Yes, ma'am.
She passed away in the hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
At that time, you didn't have money for her funeral arrangements.
No, ma'am.
And you didn't have the funds to even take her body out of the hospital.
No, ma'am.
So what did you do?
Well, I thought I had insurance settlement, and I was going to take care of that, because she did have 2 burial plots. But when we went to...
Who's we?
Me and Angela.
Who is Angela?
She's my fiancée. But when we went up there to... we've got 2 burial plots. When we went there to turn those in mortuary, they added on $10,000 or $15,000 to actually bury her. And I was unable to do that because her insurance had lapsed 2 or 3 months. You know.
So you didn't have money to take care of your mother's funeral expenses?
I did not.
Do you want to tell me how the plaintiff got involved with that?
I told Tracy exactly what... Yes.
At some point, your mother passed away on Mother's Day in 2020.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you contact Miss Spencer or did she contact you?
She contacted me.
When?
During the process of me suffering because I didn't have the cash to front my mother's funeral.
Well, you know, it's hard for me to ask the question, how did she know about that? But
Yes, ma'am.
were there other relatives?
I was posting things on Facebook.
Okay.
That's
So
how
what
she
did you
found it.
post on Facebook?
That I was trying to do a GoFundMe to help with my mother's funeral.
And how much after she died did you post something on Facebook?
Nothing much, not at all.
A day, 2 days, five?
About 3 or 4 days after.
Did you see that? Is that why you contacted him?
That is not why I contacted him.
Okay, so why don't you tell me why? That's not what you said in your papers, so I'm curious. Why did you contact him?
As he said, his mother had been sick for quite some time, so her death wasn't completely unexpected. We had been following her progression on Facebook, and Chris is correct. He had been taking care of his mother. They were very close. But when the family saw on Facebook that she had passed, nothing got posted about funeral arrangements. And some of the members of my family who were not on Facebook contacted me and said,
Don't tell me what they said to you.
sorry.
So you were contacted by members of your family.
Correct, that are not on Facebook,
Okay.
asking about care.
Don't tell me what they
I'm
asked.
sorry.
As a result of those conversations, did you contact him?
Eventually, I did not contact him immediately because I just didn't feel like it was the right time. I knew.
When? Was it in June?
So it was right after her passing. I contacted his stepbrother and stepsister first because when I had not seen anything for 3 days about funeral arrangements, rather than calling Chris, who I knew would have his hands full handling matters, I actually contacted his stepbrother and stepsister, and I said, do you know anything about funeral arrangements?
Nobody did.
And so they didn't know anything, and suggested that I reach out to Chris. I said, well, I hate to do that. This is a really bad time, but I did it anyway. And so I called Chris, and I said, Chris, I'm sorry to bother you. I know you're going through a lot, but some people are asking me about your mother's arrangements, and I don't know what to tell them. It's been several days. Have you picked out a mortuary? And he started crying immediately, understandably so. He said, Tracy, I'll be honest with you, I don't even have the money to get her out of the hospital. He said, it's going to cost $500 to get her out. I said, okay. And I believed, without a shadow of a doubt, that he truly didn't have the money because they had a very tight relationship. So there was no question in my mind if he had the $500 to get her out, he would have. I said, Chris, it's okay. I'll loan you the money. I'll call the hospital. I'll take care of it. Just calm down. And so we hung up. I called the hospital and I told them, I said, I'm not next of kin, but I'm going to take care of this matter on behalf of my cousin. So here's my credit card for $500. And the morgue told me that I couldn't pay $500, that was only their portion of having her body released from the morgue, that they could only send her body to a funeral home.
They have to send it someplace. If they're releasing it, they have to send it someplace.
Correct. They said that she had been there for so long that she needed to go within the next day because they can only stay there for 5 days. And
Got it.
Sorry. Okay. So they said she needs to go now. And if you don't come get her or have a funeral home come get her, we're going to have to send her to Spartanburg County, and they're going to be in charge of her remains, and the next of kin is at risk of being arrested for abandonment. And so I freaked out. I called Chris back. I said, Chris, I said, it's not $500. I said, they're not going to let us get her, and do you know you're close to being arrested? And, you know, I felt really bad about that.
Where do you live?
Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Just take a look and see if you can find out next of kin responsibility. I'm surprised that you were given that information from the hospital, but I may be wrong.
Morgue. Yes. So I called Chris and I said, the morgue is not going to let us get her body without a funeral home. Do you have a funeral home picked out? And I think at that time he said he didn't. And so he made some phone calls, Chris did, and then he called me back and he said, I found a mortuary. And so the mortuary that he selected was the one that ended up taking care of of her remains. And so instead of me loaning him $500 to get her released from the hospital, I ended up getting stuck with $1,500 because I had to pay the mortuary.
Okay. He found a mortuary.
Yes, ma'am.
When you called the mortuary, did they tell you what it would cost?
I didn't call the mortuary to find out anything about that. She did. And she agreed to pay everything.
No, just a second. I'm not getting there.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not there yet.
Yes, ma'am.
So the question is, did you call the mortuary?
I called them to see if they could take care of my mother.
That's what I asked you. I said, did you
Yes.
call the mortuary?
Yes, ma'am.
And after you spoke to the mortuary, you called the plaintiff back.
Sure did.
Okay. When you called the mortuary and she had already told you it would be $500 to get your mother's remains from the morgue, but then you had to take her remains someplace. You couldn't take them in your car.
Right.
They had to go someplace.
Yes, ma'am.
And common sense would suggest that you would ask what their cost was, what their fee was. Is not an answer.
For cremation.
For whatever, and they told you it was how much?
They told me for the cremation, it was about $1,500 for cremation.
Okay, and then you called your cousin back.
Yes.
And let me hear the conversation, as you recall it, between yourself and your cousin.
Okay. I called her back and told her that I didn't have the money to take care of that. She goes, don't worry about it, Chris. I'll take care of it. It's exactly what was said.
Now, was that before or after you set up a GoFundMe page?
That was before.
So she took care of the bill?
Yes.
So this was 5 days after
No,
your
the
mother's
Go-
death? Shh.
Yeah.
You said it was after. Now, so it was 5 or 6 days before your mother's body was taken to the funeral home for the purposes of cremation. How many days after that did you start a GoFundMe page?
A couple days.
2 days. And what was the language in the GoFundMe page?
To help take care of my mother's funeral.
Well,
And expenses.
shh, Mr. Jennings, if what you just said to me previously was, read back to me, Whitney, what Mr. Jennings said about the conversation that he had with her. It started with, don't worry about it.
He said, okay, I called her back and told her that I didn't have the money to take care of that. She said, don't worry about it, Chris. I'll take care of it. That's exactly what was said.
Okay, good. So if she said she would take care of it, why would you post an outcry for money from strangers to bury your mother?
To go during the process of getting that money is exactly
No. Let's follow what you said, Mr. Jennings. What you told me was that you had the conversation, she took care of the bill. 2 or 3 days later, you started a GoFundMe page for your mother's funeral expenses. Is that not what he said?
Yes.
If it was a gift to you, I'm not understanding why you would start a GoFundMe page.
It's because it wasn't taken care of within 2 or 3 days, ma'am.
What do you mean it wasn't taken care of?
She didn't pay the bill within 2 or 3 days is the thing. That's the reason I did that.
Well, they wouldn't release the body unless they got paid with a credit card.
I understand that, but I was trying
Just
to
a
have
second.
backup.
A backup for what?
Just in case you didn't fall through.
Mr. Jennings, now you're getting cute with me.
No, ma'am.
Now you're getting cute with me.
And later today,
He said to you,
I need to borrow $2,300.
and you said to him,
Why can't you ask anybody else?
and he said to you,
His girlfriend's father, if he were to ask him, he would pry and find out that he was addicted to cocaine.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Tracy and Chris.
Tracy Jennings Spencer says her cousin, Chris Jennings, owes for a loan to cover his mother's funeral costs. Chris claims it was a gift.
now, the plaintiff had to give the hospital her credit card. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So before they released the body, which they had to do within a day, they had her credit card. And it wasn't until after that that you started a GoFundMe page. Okay. And don't raise your hand. And how much money did you receive from this GoFundMe page?
Like $200.
Okay. And you received $200 within what period of time?
Within probably 3 weeks.
How much of that $200 did you give to Miss Spencer?
0.
And your total cost was $1,500. Is that correct? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500.
This court is adjourned.
Tracy, then Chris.
Well, I'm very pleased that she saw what really did happen.
I think everything went exactly as planned.
I tried to step up in a time of desperation and an emergency situation, and look where it got me.
Everything's fine.
I think we'll be able to move past. I mean, at the end of the day, he's still my cousin, he's still my blood, and I'm always gonna love him.
Judy and Sarah.
I actually didn't need the answer to that question that I threw out at you with regard to whether a child is responsible for the remains of their parent, because it was just clear, you know, when you get them to do a timeline for you.
A lot of stuff unravels.
It all unraveled because what was the reason for starting a GoFundMe page if, as he alleged in his answer, she volunteered to pay for the funeral, unless he felt an obligation. Now, the obligation had to be as a result of that conversation, that he would start a GoFundMe page. Anyway, unfortunate that she seemed like a very nice lady, very responsible, and she was very caring towards him. Shouldn't have ended up here.
Case number 2010, Hickman versus Vensloff. All parties, please step forward.
Vanessa Hickman is suing her trainer, Dylan Vensloff, for an unpaid loan.
Ms. Hickman, your case is relatively simple. You claim that you made a loan to the defendant, who was your personal trainer, when he said he was in a financial bind and he needed rent money, and he made the loan. And he paid some. His wife paid some.
Correct.
He made a couple of payments, but there is still a substantial balance.
Correct.
Mr. Zenslav said that this was not a loan, but prepayment for his training services, and that you sort of backed out of the training/nutrition program. So that's your problem. You lose your money. That's your defense, right?
Yes.
Just curious, before I get started with this case, how much do you get per hour for personal training? No, don't look over there. I want you to know that I know all about this. Everybody that I know except me has a personal trainer. I work out every day. I don't take instruction well, so I don't have a personal trainer. I have a husband who had a personal trainer. All my friends have personal trainers. So now I want you to answer my question, unless there's something extraordinary about you, which there is not. How much do you get per hour for personal training?
$75.
That's a reasonable figure. Just informational purposes. How much money did you take from Miss Hickman?
How much money did I take?
Yes, how much money did you take from me? I haven't decided what it's for, but money exchanged between you, she has proof of how much it was, and you. How much money?
I believe it was $2,300.
Is that right?
Correct.
And on what date did she give you $2,300?
I believe sometime at the end of last year, or it was close to the beginning of this year, somewhere along that time.
Date?
November 22nd, 2021.
And at that time, how long had you been training her? Since when? When did you start with her as a client?
I think like the beginning of summer last year, so I'd say...
Date?
July 2021.
Beginning, middle, or end?
Beginning.
July, August, September, October. So you had been training her for 4 months.
Yes, ma'am.
Up until November 22nd, how much money had she given you for training? Did she pay you by the week? Did she pay you by the month? How did she pay you?
Up front, first,
okay.
Monthly.
In July?
Yep.
Not yup. That's not yup.
Yes,
yup
ma'am.
You say to your friends or to your wife. So in July,
Yes.
when you started,
Yes.
she gave you how much?
$500.
For the month of July?
Yes, ma'am.
The month of August, how much did she give you?
$500.
Is that correct?
Correct.
September?
Same amount, ma'am.
500. October?
Same amount.
November?
Same amount.
The beginning of November?
Yeah.
No,
Well,
not
actually,
yeah is not an answer. The beginning
Sorry.
of November, did she give you $500?
No, because that's when we had the agreement.
No. Don't give me agreement nonsense. The beginning of July, she gave you $500.
Yep.
Beginning of August,
Yep.
she gave you $500. Beginning of September,
Yes.
she gave you $500. The beginning of October, she gave you $500. How much did she give you in the beginning of November? This $2,300 was not paid until November 22nd. How much did she give you the beginning of November?
Then it must have been $500.
Is that correct? So now she has given you $2,500
Yes, ma'am.
for 5 months. She's given you $2,500.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Now I want you to tell me what happened in November after you gave him the $2,500.
So we agreed to $100 monthly payments.
This is in November?
November, after we signed the agreement.
What agreement?
The agreement was that...
No, I want to see the agreement. Don't tell me what it
Absolutely.
was. I'd like to see it.
Vanessa hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She dons her glasses, then reviews it.
Who wrote this?
I did.
Well, I don't actually understand it. It says, I, Mr. Venzloff, hereby accept $2,300 from my client, Vanessa Hickman, in trade and paid in advance for training. This will cover meal plans, planned workouts, in-person training, check-ins, and virtual check-ins from November 22nd, 2021 to May 15th, or 1 month of training and payment plans of no less than $100 a month, starting 12/22/21. I agree to pay back the full amount in 12 months. I actually don't understand what that means, because you agreed to pay back the full amount in 12 months by paying her no less than $100 a month, starting December 2021. First part says you're accepting this $2,300 from your client in trade and paid in advance for training, but that you will pay her $100 a month and be finished paying her in 12 months by 11/22/2022. Okay. So you wrote this up.
Yes.
I don't understand it because it doesn't make sense.
Of course.
So there had to be a reason why you picked this $2,300. He's been training you July, August, September, October, and November. You paid him $500 each month, or about $120 a week. And all of a sudden, there's a $2,300. What is there something that I said funny?
Dylan's wife's eyes widen.
All of a sudden, there's $2,300. Tell me how the $2,300 came about.
So over the course of those months, we became good friends. I see him 3 times a week. We get to know each other, talk, open up, and we're very friendly with each other. He opened up about me about having financial hardships.
No, he'd opened up. He said to you.
Yeah, he said to me, I need to borrow $2,300.
And you said to him?
Why can't you ask anybody else?
And he said to you?
His girlfriend's father, if he were to ask him, he would pry and find out that he was addicted to cocaine.
That's what he told you?
Correct.
And what did you say to him?
Oh, okay. So if I give you this money, we're going to write an agreement to cover me in case you don't pay me back.
And what did he say?
Okay. And that day on November 22nd, we wrote out the agreement.
No, you wrote the agreement.
Absolutely. I wrote it down, and he gave me a photo of his driver's license that day, and...
You have a copy of that driver's license?
I do have a photo on my phone, yes.
I'd like to see it.
Of course.
Vanessa hands her phone to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
So you were working, and he was working. He was making money. So if you're the wife, you say, what do you mean? We need money for rent. I'm working. You're working. What's it all about? Did you know he had a drug problem?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Vanessa and Dylan.
Vanessa Hickman claims her trainer, Dylan Venzloff, owes for an unpaid loan. Dylan says it was a trade agreement and not a loan.
Okay. Mr. Venzloff, understanding what I said to you before, that everybody that I know has a trainer. Everybody, except me. Nobody that I know has the driver's license of their trainer. Nobody. And I'm very old. Now, can you give me a logical reason why the plaintiff would have a copy of your driver's license in her phone?
To make sure that the trade agreement stays.
What's the trade agreement?
The trade agreement was that she was going to give me the money, and I was going to...
Just a second. Let's go back for a second.
Yeah, no problem.
So what she says, in part, was accurate. Is that what you're telling me?
In part.
That you became friends, you would talk to her, you had a girlfriend, you knew he had a girlfriend?
Correct.
You asked her for money?
Yes, ma'am.
Different amount of money because you were in financial difficulty?
Yes, ma'am.
And that she asked you, why couldn't you ask your girlfriend's father? Because she evidently knew that, based upon the fact that you were friends, that you're the wife, girlfriend, whatever, your father has money?
Yes.
Okay. Why couldn't you ask the girlfriend's father, right?
Yes.
She asked you that question?
Yes.
And did you say to her, because I didn't want him to pry?
Yes.
Because I have a cocaine habit?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so she gave you the $2,300?
Yep.
Not yup.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Perfect. And that was on the 22nd of November of last year. After she gave you that money, and you were supposed to, according to this agreement, make $100 a month payments to her. That would took... That's what it says.
Yeah, if I was unavailable.
No, it doesn't say. There's nothing here that says unavailable.
Well, it's actually...
There's nothing. That's why I don't understand this agreement.
Yeah.
You see, Not yet. That's why I don't understand this agreement, because one talks about training and workouts, and one talks about you agreeing to pay her back within 12 months at no less than $100 a month. So it doesn't make any sense. So now I have to figure out what it was that really happened. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this paper says something about $100 a month. Now, did you ever give her $100 a month?
Yes, for a certain amount of month.
In what months did you give her $100 a month?
I think it was the first 3 months.
And you gave it to her how?
Via Venmo.
Did he give you the first 3 months?
He gave me the last 2 months, and his wife paid me the first month.
That would be you? Yes. Stand up, please.
Dylan's wife rises.
Tell me your last name.
Venzloff.
When did you find out that your husband had taken money from the plaintiff?
When she had sent me a message on Instagram asking for me to send her money that he was late on a payment.
And that was in what month?
I believe mid-January she messaged me.
January of 2022.
Correct.
And up until that time, your husband had not told you that he took money from the plaintiff. That's an easy question.
I don't believe so, no.
He had not. Well, that's what it sounded like. You didn't know about it because the first you heard about it was when she sent you a message. So he had not told you that he took money from her before. Now, when you found out, you confronted him about this, did you take money from the plaintiff?
I did.
And what did he tell you?
He told me that he had to pay for rent that month.
Were you living together?
We were already married.
Were you working?
I was.
So you were working, and he was working. He was making money. So if you're the wife, you say, what do you mean? We need money for rent. I'm working. You're working. What's it all about? Did you know he had a drug problem?
That was when I found out.
Okay. Well, that's a fair question. I like the honesty. Did you have discussions with him about that?
Yes.
Did he go into rehab?
Yes.
Great. When did he go into rehab?
He went for a week in December into a detox, and then he went for a month this last June, I believe.
Because he had a relapse?
Yes.
How long was it in June?
30 days.
During December and June, had he ever been arrested?
No.
So he did this voluntarily?
Yes.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Take a breath. All fine. Your husband owes her $1,800. That's what she's suing for. That's what he owes her. He knows he owes her that money. She was doing a good thing. She was being kind to him. And probably, ultimately, if he stays clean, saved his life. Mm-hmm. Reasonable, you know, because but for that, you wouldn't have found out, you wouldn't have forced him to take some action. Is that what happened?
Yes.
Do you have a drug problem?
I don't know.
Does your father still not like him?
They're best friends.
They're best friends?
Yes.
Interesting. I'm absolutely shocked. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,800. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Vanessa, then Dylan.
I thought that she handled it very well. I didn't need to go over all the details. She did that all for me.
Honestly, you know, it was a trade agreement, which it clearly states in the first part, you know, so I had the entire year.
I don't think that he could have sent me the payments. I had to keep...
to either pay her back or train her, and she served me before the contract was even up.
Crying and messaging him for it. I think court was where it needed to be settled.
All she wanted was the money back, but I told her I was completely available. Then she moved out of the area.
He's a great trainer, absolutely amazing trainer, hands down. Borrowing money, not the smartest decision.
Well, I think he could have handled the situation differently, but I think he was trying to do his best to get us out of a sticky situation.
You know, I think it's about time to find someone else.
Judy and Sarah.
I remember my law school days, Sarah. Not clearly, but I remember my law school days. And you know how important it is, I always say you should have a writing. Mm-hmm. But you're supposed to have a writing that's clear. And I know that there's a rule of law that if a contract or an agreement is ambiguous, that a third party can't figure out, fact finder can't figure out what the intent of the parties was. Was it a training agreement, which is what he said, which is a lot of baloney? Was it a loan? That you're allowed to go beyond that contract. So your experience in law school is much closer.
I did just study this, so it's true that if a fully integrated agreement, meaning that it's clear, the meeting of the minds between parties is clear to a third-party fact finder, then usually outside evidence is not allowed because you clearly have what the meeting of the minds of the parties was. However, in a case like this, when it's more ambiguous or the terms are ambiguous or you're not quite clear what the meeting of the minds was for, a loan, like you said, or training, you're allowed to bring in outside evidence to gap fill those sort of ambiguous
and to
terms.
figure out what the intent of the parties was.
Exactly. So for that exact reason. But I can appreciate that she had enough wherewithal to know that she should have something written. Maybe next time she'll make it just a little clearer for a judge.
Thank you.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
Credits, audio description.
Is suing her sister, Joanne Gaines, for car damages and harassment.
Judge Judy enters the courtroom.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2003, Gaines versus Gaines.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Ms. Gaines, you and the defendant are half-sisters. You share the same father.
Yes.
Have you always had a relationship with your father?
Yes.
And you, Ms. Gaines?
Yes.
There came a time when you were living with your dad.
Yes.
From when to when were you living with your dad?
From October 2018 to December 2021.
And who was living at the same residence?
It was me, my dad, and a roommate, my dad's roommate.
No children?
Yes, my children stayed there as well. I do
Okay,
apologize.
well, that's important.
Sorry.
How many children?
I have 4 daughters.
How old are they?
11, 10, 4, and 5.
Were you working?
Yes.
From 18 to 21?
I stopped working in November 2019, and I started back working October 21.
What kind of work do you do?
I work for United Healthcare. I'm a customer service rep for Optum.
Just so that I get a sense, because this is a family issue, you clearly had a life before you moved to your father's house in 2018. Could you tell me why you moved into your father's house in 2018?
Because where I was living, the house was smaller, and my dad felt like he wanted me and my children to be in a safer environment.
So you had an ongoing, constant relationship with him?
Yes.
And Ms. Gaines, tell me about you. Did you ever live with your father?
I lived with my father when I was in the 9th grade.
But not since you were a child?
No.
Did you maintain a relationship with him?
I did. Me and my father do mechanic work together most of the time, so I'm at his house a lot.
Was that a business that you had together?
Just more so for fun, family time. If he needed help, I could go in and assist him. I just use that as extra time.
And that was consistent and up through 2021?
Yes.
So you saw your sister there? Because she was living there with her children?
Yes. On occasion, though, her and her kids would be out more often. I would just go and visit my dad when the house was empty and he needed more company and help and assistance because he was there alone.
How old was he?
He's about 24 years older than me, so I believe he's like 59 now.
Did you see your sister at your father's house in the years that you were living there?
She came to visit, yes.
And they worked together on mechanical stuff?
I never saw that. Me and my sister, we had a close relationship, so she would come over and hang out with me all the time.
Okay, good. And then, unfortunately, something happened. You want to tell me when that was and what it was?
October, I believe it was the 30th, me and my sister, we got into an altercation.
Tell me the beginnings of it, because each of you claimed that the other harassed, claimed your sister assaulted you, and both of you claimed some damage to automobiles that was caused by the other during the course of these altercations. Okay, so tell me what happened in October.
So the Thursday prior to the 30th, which was a Saturday in October, my sister was supposed to come to my house and do my kids' hair. But that was something that I had just asked her to do. Like we said, I stayed with my dad. They were having some issues, so
Who was having issues?
My sister and my dad.
Were you having issues with your father around that time?
I was told I was having issues with my father at that time by my sister Jessica.
Did you discuss it with your father?
I did, and I found out that that was a lie that Jessica had told him, was making up lies to make us not like each other.
Okay, so there was some bad feeling about that.
Right, so I was inviting her over because she was struggling, and I needed my kids' hair done for picture day. So
she was what?
Struggling.
Struggling.
Financially.
Okay.
So I offered to pay her to do my kids' hair. My dad did inform me that she wasn't able to come to the house, that I needed to go to her house. And I don't really know what her situation was like over there, so I let my dad know I was uncomfortable. And I also let her know our dad said it was not okay for you to come over here with us today. And he wanted an apology.
He wanted an apology?
Yes.
From her?
Yes.
Is your father well?
He has diabetes and...
Okay, but there's nothing preventing him from coming to court. Okay, well then you can't tell me what he told you because that's hearsay. Did your sister come over to the house on October 30th?
Yes.
Approximately what time?
I believe 11:30 in the morning.
Had you had a conversation with her that morning and told her not to come over?
Yes.
Did you tell her why?
Oh, I can't speak on it because he's not here.
No.
I don't.
My question is, did you tell your sister why?
Yes.
What did you tell your sister?
That our dad did not want her there.
Is that what she told you?
That is what she told me.
Did you ask her why?
I did.
What did she tell you?
She told me that my dad was under the impression that I was hanging out with drug dealers and dangerous people, and that he didn't want me around.
Did you call your father?
I did.
And you had a discussion with him?
I did.
Were you invited over to the house?
I called.
That's either a yes or a no?
No.
So now you have information, whether accurate or not, that you weren't welcome in your father's house for whatever reason, or for the reason that was articulated to you. You called your father to confirm that, and your father did, in fact, confirm that.
He confirmed that there was a issue between Jessica and I, and that we needed to resolve it. He was not going to get involved with it, but he did not confirm that I was denied access to his house.
Well, just from my information, what did you think the issue was between you and your sister?
She was lying to my father.
Well, no, your father didn't say that your sister's lying to me. Your father had to have indicated to you that these are the things that I'm being told, and you have to resolve that with your sister.
Yes.
But your father told you not to come to the house.
No, he did not tell me not to come to the house.
Did he suggest you come to the house?
Neither. He neither suggested I come or not to. He just said I should
resolve it with her.
Yes.
Okay. And you went over there that morning?
I stated to her that I would come over and resolve it right then and there.
You told him?
They were both on the phone. Okay. I called his cell phone.
Did your sister, then your sister said, I'm going to come over, and you knew she was coming?
Yes, she said.
Okay, that's a yes. You knew she was coming, so this wasn't a surprise visit. You knew she was coming. Now tell me what happened when she got there.
So when she gets there, me and my dad were standing outside already. She gets out of her car. I approach her car. It's a little back and forth, and then...
No, tell me the back and forth, and try to keep your voice up.
Sorry. So when I approach her car, she jumps out the car. Then she reaches for a taser. So then I close her in the door. And once my dad, we're outside together, he pulls me off the door. She then takes her car, it's a video. She's attempting to run me over with her car. She did manage to run over my foot. I then went in the house. I got a broomstick, like an attachment, like the broom wasn't attached. But I've got the broomstick, and I went outside and I started swinging it at her car. And I damaged the hood of her car and the window.
And then she left?
No. She stayed at the house. I went back in the house. She called the police, and I'm not sure what happened after she called the police.
Well, did the police arrive?
My dad informed me that we didn't know what she was telling the police, that when police come, everybody gets arrested. So he said, I had something to do that day, go get a facial at an appointment at 1 o'clock. So I just went ahead and headed off to that.
So you left?
Yes.
You knew she called the police and you left? Yes. Leaving your dad to explain to the police what happened?
My dad didn't talk to the police neither.
So they just came?
As far as I know, they just came, knocked on the door. When I called to see if there was a report made, the police said no report was made. That was it.
Okay, fine. So the damage that was done to your car was done with a broomstick handle?
Yes.
To her car?
Yes.
By you?
Yes.
Now, Miss Gaines, did you have a taser in your car?
I don't own a taser.
And when you got to the house, your father was standing with her?
No.
Where was he?
He was exiting the house. She was already, when I pulled up, she was exiting the house.
But he was outside?
She was already at the sidewalk when I pulled up. Okay. So he was at the door.
Well, why don't you tell me your version of what happened when you pulled up?
I pulled up. I was recording the incident on my phone. I don't have that recording because it was on Instagram. I didn't want the embarrassment to go on any longer. I tried to screen record it, but it didn't save.
Okay, so you don't have video?
I don't have that full video. I do have a short video of her actually attacking the car with the stick that she came out of the house with, though. So I do have that.
I'd like to look at it.
I have the full video.
Okay, I'd like to see hers, and thank you for telling me you have the full video.
Okay.
I think the full video might be more sufficient because I have bits and pieces of the video.
Kevin, I'm going to take both. Would you pull up the video that you have on your phone?
We're gonna go over to my family member's house right now to find out why we want to fight me. She has literally did everything in her possibility to make my dad my enemy. She has moved into his house, told him I'm on drugs. My family have come up with this excuse that I'm on drugs, and that's why nobody has come to see me. Yeah, do it. I'm on live.
Video footage of Jessica hitting Joanne's car with a broom handle.
First, Ms. Gaines, you do understand that you damaged your sister's car.
Yes.
Okay, and that you have to pay for that. Your tires had already been flattened how many times?
3.
Do you have a bill for those tires?
When I went to court, when she was suing me for her car, I just took the receipts as proof, and when the judge took it, I never got it back.
No.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jessica and Joanne.
Jessica Gaines claims her sister, Joanne Gaines, vandalized her car and harassed her. Joanne is countersuing for an assault and filing a false restraining order against her.
Okay. Ms. Gaines, you do understand that you damaged your sister's car?
Yes.
Okay, and that you have to pay for that?
She sued me for the damages already.
She sued you. Did she get the damages?
Yes.
Oh.
She was granted.
Okay.
Jessica hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Okay, so you sued her already and you got a judgment.
Yes, for that incident.
For this damage?
But not the damage that would happen on December the 12th.
Just a second.
Sorry.
Okay, so we don't have to deal with this damage. And subsequent to this damage that you caused to your sister's car, you had damage to your car.
Yes.
And tell me what that was.
So on 3 different occasions, she came to my house and popped both of my tires on the driver's side of my car.
Okay. And this was after October 30th?
Yes.
You'd been living at your father's house for 3 years?
Yes.
With your children. During that 3-year period of time, was your car ever damaged?
No.
Did you ever have tires popped on the car?
No.
Did you confront your sister at any time about the damage to your car?
No.
According to this, you have a video of her near your car.
Yes.
On one of those occasions.
Yes.
I'd like to see it. Before I even look at it, Ms. Gaines, you received a judgment and were compensated for the damage to your car caused by your sister. Mm-hmm. Do you acknowledge that you or someone acting on your behalf flattened her tires?
1 tire.
Okay. So you say you flattened them 1 time?
1 tire, 1 time.
And when?
Right before November.
Okay. And what did you flatten the tires with?
Knife.
So
just
you slashed.
1 tire.
She did say tires, didn't
just
she?
1 tire.
She said 1 tire, 1 time.
Okay. And that was in November?
Beginning of November.
Did you pay for that tire?
I did not.
And do you have photographs of the flattened tires?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at them. How many times were they flattened?
My tires were flattened 3 times.
Tires. How many tires the first time?
2.
How many tires the second time?
Sorry, I just want to make sure. 2.
How many tires the third time?
2.
And you filed a case against your sister for damage to your car on what date?
This is the court case I filed for damages for my car. Well, originally I just filed for...
When did she file the case, I'm sorry, against you for damages to her car?
December 16th.
And your tires had already been flattened how many times?
3.
Do you have a bill for those tires?
Yes. Well, I had took the receipt before, so I don't have the receipt, but I have the police report where the police...
No, I want to see the receipt.
I'm sorry.
I need damages. You want damages, you have to show me that you spent money to replace the tires and how much they cost.
Yeah, I'm sorry. When I went to court, when she was suing me for her car, I just took the receipts as proof, and when the judge took it, I never got it back.
Did you countersue her for the tires when
No.
she sued you?
No.
Well, why would the judge take your receipts for the tire?
Because he took all of our evidence at the end of the case.
No. The only reason a court would take your evidence is if you had a counterclaim for your damage.
I'm new to the court thing, so I didn't know to countersue. So when I had to file paperwork, so when I went to court on our court date, I was just letting the judge know, like, look, she did these damages to me. I didn't file a countersue claim. I didn't know I had to do that.
The judge looked at it and didn't return that to you?
He said any evidence that we wanted to be taken into consideration to leave it with him, and I left it with him.
And what kind of tires did you purchase?
I believe they say Bridgestone on them.
And what's the name, make, and model of your car?
It's a 2005 Cadillac Escalade.
Can you get me any information about that, Sarah? Cost of cars, 2000 Escalade, what kind of tires it uses? Okay, so the harassment that you're talking about by your sister, because that's the other part of your claim. The vandalism is one, which Sarah is looking up now. The damages for harassment were the tires being slashed, is that right?
A part of it, yes.
Well, what's the other part?
Well, when I filed for the restraining order, the judge said it sounded like a family matter, so I didn't.
So the court dismissed it?
Yes. So on December 24th, which was Christmas Eve, I woke up and my tires were popped again. So I then asked my dad, is it okay if I record you reaching out to my sister, asking her to leave me alone so that if I do go to court again, I have some evidence? Because again, my dad didn't come to court back then. And he was like, I don't think I can do that because then she'll start messing with me and I can't afford to be down in the morning.
Okay.
And then I was just like, okay, well, at that point, I didn't feel safe there no more because she had already called Children's Services on me. And then every 2 weeks, my tires were being popped. I really couldn't afford it.
I got it. Do you recall how much you spent for each tire?
Each tire was $120.
So you spent a little over $700?
Yes.
Okay.
That's about right from what I'm seeing.
Okay. So, Ms. Gaines, let me tell you how I'm going to rule on her request for damages for her car. But I believe that some things make sense and some things don't. And if somebody has an MO of slashing tires as their reaction to having their car damaged, and if you acknowledge doing it and doing it one time, it is not a giant leap from my imagination that you caused the same damage to all 6 of her tires. I don't find that a giant leap. I think the whole thing is foolish, and I actually don't see the basis for coming out with a broomstick, except that you were angry and lashing out at her car. You could have stayed in your house and called the police. There was no reason for you to come out of the house at all, except to confront your sister. You had an application for a restraining order against your sister?
This is correct.
And you had a trial on that?
This is correct.
And you were granted a restraining order?
Yes.
For how long?
6 months.
And that expired?
It hasn't expired yet. This was an incident. It was caused by her coming to my house after court.
Okay.
And causing more damage.
Okay. So I think that she had the right to file for a restraining order against you because part of your action is filing false restraining order. Part of your case was for vandalism to your car, but that was already done in another court.
That was part of the first case. We've been going since October.
Okay. How did she ask you to jump out of the vehicle?
She stated, hop out. I said, okay, I guess we're hopping out. Well,
that was sort of silly. If somebody said to you, hop out, I would stay in the car.
I'm trying to talk to my dad.
Well, you talk to your dad later when things have calmed down and you're not high on weed.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jessica and Joanne.
Jessica Gaines accuses her sister, Joanne Gaines, of slashing her tires. Joanne claims she needed to file a restraining order against Jessica.
Okay, let's get to the assault part of your claim that I would like to hear. First, I watched the video, and I have to tell you, Ms. Gaines, that in my judgment, what you took a big whiff of was a blunt. Is that what they call that?
That is.
Okay. And that's what was in the video, and that's while you were on your way over there and very, very angry and driving a car and lost in a sea of smoke. Do you understand? And I think that that's both foolish, bad judgment, dangerous, and dangerous to drive a car that way.
I agree, I'm sorry.
And shows an absolute lack of judgment. So I would think about that kind of behavior. Again, if I were you, you want to tell me when and under what circumstances your sister assaulted you and where you were hospitalized or treated medically?
When I pulled up to the house, she had asked me to jump out of the vehicle. I was...
How did she ask you to jump out of the vehicle?
She was standing on the sidewalk. I was putting the car in park, and she stated, hop out. And I said, okay, I guess we're hopping out.
Well, that was sort of silly. If somebody said to you, hop out, I would stay in the car.
I'm trying to talk to my dad. I have a...
Okay. Well, you talk to your dad later when things have calmed down and you're not high on weed.
I understand that you...
You got the damages for your car by way of a judgment. I've awarded you for the tires $726. $726 for the tires. That's the judgment of the court. We're finished. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I only slashed her tires one time, one tire, like I stated.
It was fair.
There's no receipts that were presented, so they were never damaged.
We got it, we got the proof, so.
She stated that I ran her over by the car, but she was walking back into her house. How are you walking if your foot got ran over by a car?
It's embarrassing.
Jealousy, maybe. I don't feel that way. This is my younger sister. I love my younger sister. I don't wish that this wasn't even going on.
I really hope we have a better relationship going forward. I hope this is all over and behind us.
Yeah, there's no more family for me, I guess.
We're siblings. Siblings go through stuff.
Judy and Sarah.
So, my Sarah, the case to me, we've seen it before, siblings fighting, very unfortunate. So I'm going to ask you a question because I know I come from a separate generations, 3 down from you.
Okay.
And I've already accepted the fact that many states in this country have voted in favor of legislation which suggests that marijuana is a legal substance and decriminalizing it. Fine, just like alcohol.
Yeah.
That's what my grandchildren tell me. You drink alcohol, we do something else. But am I crazy? Because I watched that video, and to me that was the most interesting part of the video. And then she took this big cigar thing, which I found out what those were called back in my family court days, and it's interesting that I could recall it, called a blunt. Tell me what you think. Would it be no different if she took a big bottle of vodka from the passenger seat and took a couple of swigs before she got to a fight?
Yeah.
Okay, I want your take on that.
Yeah, even as a different generation, there's responsibilities and regulations and rules, the same with alcohol. So while it might be legalized, decriminalized in many states, you still have to follow the rules and act responsibly. I think there are different physiological effects.
Would you say that there was any jurisdiction in this country where you could smoke marijuana while you were driving?
I think it's still considered under the influence, which is just as bad as driving under the influence of alcohol. So I think it impairs your judgment all the same. And showing up to a fight high, I think, is equivalent to showing up drunk. And
even if you were going to a party.
Yeah, you're behind the wheel of tons of weight and something that could be used as a deadly weapon. Yeah. So you got to be as sharp as you can.
Yeah. Just from this interaction, you're absolutely right legally, but I'm not getting the outrage.
No, outrageous. I think it is.
Okay.
I think driving under the influence of marijuana, alcohol, outrageous.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad you feel that way.
Are you a victim of an assault? Go to judyjustice.tv.
Credit
Astroger for a phone and gas money.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Case 2087, Self versus Stroger.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judy turns to David.
Your last name is Self?
That's correct.
There are 2 parts to your claim. I'm going to get and take your hands out of your pockets.
Sorry about that.
I'm going to get and dismiss one of them and get to the one that is important. You and the defendant were in a dating sort of relationship. That dating relationship sort of continued for a while. At some point, you had an argument, and she left you. She stranded you. That was in July of 2022. You say you had an argument, she drove off, and she left you stranded. You had to get a hotel for the night. You had to pay a friend for gas money, blah, 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 blah.
Correct.
Forget that. That's what happens when you have a fight with your girlfriend.
Okay.
Have a fight with your girlfriend. How old are you?
I'm almost 40.
Well, for someone almost 40, they know how to get home.
Correct.
Okay, good. So let's get to what your lawsuit is. It's really about a phone that you say the defendant is responsible for losing or taking.
Taking. I have videos of
taking. And the defendant in some way acknowledges that she disposed of your phone, and she says she had very good cause to dispose of your phone. She's going to tell me why. So I'm going to get some dates from you, Mr. Self, and I'm going to, at the same time, explore what I see is her answer and her counterclaim.
Okay.
Now, after the 2 of you had broken up, Miss Stroger was at a bar, and she was at a bar on what date?
I would say that would be the 16th. It was actually on the 19th.
August 2nd.
Was it August
8/2. You see how...
She knows better about these dates than I do.
Well, but it's your case.
I understand that.
So let's say she's right, that it happened on August 2nd.
Okay.
And at that time, the two of you were no longer dating or a couple.
Yes.
And you were going to a bar. And when you got there, was the defendant there?
Not that I was aware of at the particular time.
You didn't see her?
I didn't see her, no.
What time did you get to the bar?
I'd say about 4 or 5.
Anybody else at the bar?
There's quite a bit of people there, to be honest.
How many people?
I'd say about 30.
Anybody you knew?
Quite a bit of people.
Of the 30 people there, how many people did you know?
I'd say at least 10.
But you indicate when you got there, you did not see the defendant.
No, I wasn't paying attention to her at the particular time.
Well, you say that there were 30 people in the bar,
Correct.
10 of whom you knew. So you knew some people, and this was a former girlfriend of yours with whom you had been close association and intimate, right?
Correct.
And you didn't see her.
Well, they have a back patio, and then they also have the indoors and everything like that. And then they have a front area, too, as well, so.
Tell me, Mr. Self, when did you, in fact, see her?
It's when she was doing the bowling. And that was a little bit later on when I was playing pool.
About what time was that?
I don't know, probably like 7 or 8.
So you had been in the bar for between 3 and 4 hours.
Yes.
Okay, so now you're at the bar for 3 or 4 hours. And are your friends there, these 10 people that you knew?
Yes.
Now, I'm going to go back a little bit to the breakup that you two had.
Gotcha.
Was it a mutual breakup?
So what ended up happening and everything that we had a disagreement on the 23rd in Norco, and she left me stranded there, so I had to get another friend give me a ride back to my residence.
I can't understand a word you're saying because you're speaking too fast.
On the 23rd,
Better.
she left me at a barbecue and had a friend give me a ride back to Riverside, California.
A friend who was at the barbecue.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so you were at a barbecue with her.
That's correct.
And that was how far away from where you were living in Riverside?
I'd say about 20 minutes away.
And your friend was at the barbecue, and after you had an argument with her, your friend took you home.
Prior?
No, not prior. Is that what you just said to me?
In Norco, California, is when she left me at a barbecue. And then at the bar, or when we were down in Huntington Beach on the 30th, she left me. I have video that shows all that.
All right. I asked you whether the breakup was acrimonious. So one time she left you at a barbecue where you knew somebody who drove you home.
Correct.
And you didn't stay in a motel, you didn't do anything else. Okay, good. And then she did it again.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying to me?
Yes.
And the second time was when?
It was on the 30th.
Okay. And that is the time when you say you had to spend some time over. So after she left you the second time, is that when you no longer communicated with her?
That's correct.
Did you say, why did you leave me? How dare you leave me? You didn't have any communication by text or phone or anything else, is what I'm asking you.
So her cousin's supposed to play in a band. We showed up late. She was upset and distraught about showing up late.
Who showed up late?
We did, because I was with her.
I just need a date of that,
on the 30th.
sir. I have on the 30th, so she was upset that you showed up late, and?
We showed up late to her cousin's thing. They're supposed to be at 2 o'clock. We got there about 2:05. She's upset about that. When we were driving down the road, because we're trying to find parking, which everybody was around and everything, she was getting upset and getting angry with another driver, to the point where I had to pull the e-brake to stop the vehicle, as I thought she was going to run into it.
And then what happened?
I tried to de-escalate the situation as much as possible. Mind you, there's 2 minors there in the back.
I would just like to know, was the breakup, I'm trying to figure out, was the breakup acrimonious or mutual on the 30th? Who broke up with whom?
She left me.
She left you there.
That's correct.
On the 30th. After she left you there on the 30th, did you have any communication with her?
I was done with it.
Just a second. So after the 30th, you didn't see her or communicate with her until you saw her on August 2nd, is what you're saying?
Yes. I didn't see her again.
Didn't see her again or communicate with her from the 30th of July until August 2nd, a few days later.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
I believe so. I can look at my records right now to see, but I don't believe I gave her a call or anything like that.
Okay. And when you saw her at the bar that you were in, you saw her later between 6 and 7. She was bowling. Mm-hmm. It's not an answer. The answer is yes.
Yes.
She was bowling. You were playing pool.
Correct.
And what this is about is your phone, which you're missing. So tell me about the phone, sir.
So I have a Note 10 Plus that was behind the bar at the time, instead of going to my vehicle, which I typically charge it from that
Just a second. So you were charging your phone at the bar.
Correct.
When had you put the phone in to charge it?
Later on that evening, around 10, maybe 11, I'm guessing.
10 or 11?
I'm guessing.
Just a second. 10 or 11. So.
Because there's a few times I actually go in there, I charge it, then I use it for a little bit.
Well, but you saw it the last time.
I apologize for that.
Last time you saw it, you plugged it in. It was like 10 or 11. So now you've been in the bar from 4 to 10 or 11.
Yes.
And she was there, at least as far as you know, from about 7 to 10 or 11.
Yes.
Keep going.
So I charge it, and...
what were you doing with the phone all evening?
Talking, texting. Texting and stuff like that.
Texting?
Communicating, yes.
To whom?
Friends.
Friends.
What's going on, you know, social media, all the good stuff.
Okay, go ahead.
So anyways, I was playing pool. I went outside, had a cigarette, and then that's when she, at 12:33 is when she ended up with her girlfriend looking around and all this other stuff. Like I stated before, I have the video that shows that on the camera. Would you like to see it?
So far, I'm not understanding you. So why don't you explain it to me, and then you can show it to me. So far, it's all a jumble. 12:30 at night.
12:33 is when she stole the phone.
Is when she stole the phone?
That's correct.
And you bought the phone when, sir?
About 2 years ago.
And how much did you pay for it?
I don't know, I think like $800, $700.
Well, this is your case. How am I supposed to figure out? You're suing for a phone that she took. How am I supposed to figure out how much she owes you for the phone if she took it?
I don't know how much I paid for it, but I know it retails for about $1,200.
Show me.
So I got the case cover.
What kind of phone was it?
Note 10 Plus.
The Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus is typically $395 to $512.
At this point in time, yes.
Well, that's what it would cost you to replace it.
Okay.
Now, you do not deny that you put your hands on his phone in a manner in which you intended to have it removed from his custody, which means, according to you, you took the phone out of the charger and threw it in the trash or trash someplace. So far, Mr. Self, the defendant acknowledges that she took the phone and trashed it.
All right.
And I want you to make sure that you answer my questions carefully. While you were at the bar between 7 and 12, did you ever show anyone at the bar a photograph of the defendant?
No, I did not.
Now I'll hear you.
So I got to the bar around 8:30 because I played darts that night. I did not see the plaintiff. I was playing bowling. There's an arcade game. And when he came in, he started showing videos of me.
That's incorrect.
Don't speak.
Caption, coming up.
There is a protective order in place, and if you want to vacate that protective order because you question service, you better do so. In the meantime, I suggest you stay very, very far away from her.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, David and Joangela.
David Self claims his ex-girlfriend, Joangela Stroger, owes for a phone and gas money. Joangela is countersuing for harassment.
Now, did you see him showing videos of you to anyone at the bar?
I saw him showing videos.
But didn't see what they were?
No.
I would never do such a thing. Apologize.
Could you stand up, please?
Absolutely.
A blonde woman rises.
Do you know Mr. Self?
I do.
Tell me your name.
Amy
Amy what?
Clack.
Were you at the bar on the 2nd of August?
I was.
And you know the defendant?
Yes, she's a friend of mine.
And what about Mr. Self? How do you know him?
As her ex-boyfriend.
Be careful of what you answer me. Did you see what Mr. Self was showing on his phone?
I did not see what he was showing on his phone. I saw him showing the phone, and I had friends who came up to me to see if I had seen it.
You can't tell me what your friends told you.
Understand.
You can sit down. Now, Ms. Stroger, your answer, and of course your counterclaim, involved the fact that Mr. Self was showing intimate pictures of you that he had maintained on his phone. So far, we don't have a witness to that. So what I want you to tell me is whether or not you personally had a conversation with Mr. Self about those videos on that night on August 2nd.
I asked him not to show video of me around the bar that night.
You did have a conversation with him?
Yeah, because he approached me.
Put your hand down. I want you to tell me about the conversation.
He approached me basically...
I don't want to hear basically.
He approached me
what time?
Saying hi about 9:30 that night. Approached me saying hi. I told him I didn't want anything to do with him, that I had seen him showing videos, and that I was told that it was sexual videos of myself.
And what did he say?
He said he can do what he wants with his phone, and walked away.
Do you recall that conversation, Mr. Self?
There was no conversation that took place. The only video...
No. Slowly. There was no conversation, that took place.
That took place about anything like that. What video I did have was her being irate over there in Huntington Beach. So if you'd like to see that too as well.
No, I'd like to see the videos that she says that you have of her on your phone.
I don't have any videos of her like that on my phone.
Did you delete them?
I don't have.
Just a second. Oh, he has a new phone. Got it. He has, just dawned on me, he has a new phone. Well.
I did have a letter stating that he did get the backup and he's got all the videos again.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
I do have a backup. Once I
Just a second.
Okay.
He sent this to my boss at 1:30 in the morning. 2:43, sorry.
Judy reviews a document.
Mr. Self, this was sent by you to her boss on the 9th of August.
Okay.
Would you tell me the purpose of sending this letter to her boss?
She does very good at showing that she's a good person and all the other good stuff.
No, I don't think, listen to me. I don't necessarily think anything.
Okay.
I think any woman that allows photographs to be taken of her, intimate photographs that she would not want put on the, I'm speaking.
Okay.
I'm speaking that she would not want posted on the front page of a local newspaper.
Correct.
I think that that's foolish.
Yeah.
I do. And I know a lot of people do it. I do a shout out every once in a while and say that that's stupid to do. And I think certainly if you were showing those videos or those photographs to anyone at the bar because you were annoyed with her or whatever, you thought it was fun, I think that that's
childish.
Sad, maybe worse. What I want to know is, after this all happened, why you sent this email to her boss.
Because the thing is this, that she is trying to pin me as a bad guy or something like that, is what she's really trying to do. She's trying to manipulate it to be on her side. She lies and manipulates all the time. And I've seen that because I was with her. I should know. Okay? The thing is this, I have the video of her over there in Huntington Beach being irate, unable to have a conversation.
I don't care if she's irate, sir. Right now, she has no proof that you were showing videos of her at the bar that evening.
Yes.
You don't have that because that's your counterclaim. And if you don't have that, then I have to dismiss your counterclaim.
But there's also harassment and stalking that he's been doing.
Okay. I have to dismiss that part of your counterclaim, which is for revenge porn. Okay. Now, you're going to tell me about the stalking, and first I'll take a look at a police report.
The police report, unfortunately...
Just a second. If you don't have it...
I have a restraining order, and the police...
Just a second. Do you have a restraining order that's in effect now?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Also, Your Honor, too, I have also...
No, I'm not...
Okay.
I didn't ask you anything.
Joangela hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Were you at a hearing, Mr. Self, on this protective order?
I never even got served papers at all for anything.
I have proof of service.
Was there a signature on it?
Well, Mr. Self, she has a restraining order that's, and the hearing date was August 25th, 2022. She appeared. You're supposed to stay away from her. I'm just telling you. And I'm telling you, considering the fact, and I don't know whether you were released from prison recently. Are you still on parole?
I'm on parole right now, yes.
Okay. Well, if you're, I didn't ask you anything. Well, if you're on parole, Mr. Self, and you say you weren't served with this restraining order, I would strongly advise, sir, that you retain counsel and question service.
Yeah, I've contacted my probation officer. They're well aware of the situation.
Don't tell me what they're aware of. I'm telling you that there is a protective order in place.
Gotcha.
And if you want to vacate that protective order because you question service of that protective order, you better do so.
Okay.
In the meantime, I suggest you stay very, very far away from her.
He called me yesterday.
I called you yesterday?
Yes. Don't speak to her. Tell me what the conversation was yesterday.
I was on my way to work, and I didn't know the phone number, so I answered it, and he said, please just give me a minute, and I hung up.
Did you call her yesterday from that phone?
There is a phone.
Just a second. That would be a yes.
Yes.
Okay, and you know this situation is hostile.
Yes.
And you knew you were coming here today.
That's correct.
Would you tell me, please, why you called her yesterday?
I didn't mean to call her by any means. I pocket dialed her.
Well, if it but called her or pocket dialed her, sir, that means that you were able to transfer all the information that you had on your old phone into your new phone, because after the experience that you had at the bar, there would be no reason for you to have her number in your phone.
I know.
Unless you just transferred.
I got it right here.
Well, if you got it, listen to me. If you got it right here, then it wasn't a butt call. So you can either butt call when, am I wrong about that? You know, I'm not technically sophisticated, but I do know this. I can't think into my phone. Now, maybe there is a phone that you can think into. I'd say, well, I have her number right here. You can't say, am I missing something here?
You might only butt dial me because I'm in your favorites, but...
Caption, coming up.
Why would you send this to her boss?
It shows that she lies and manipulates and all sort of stuff to get her way.
I'm at a point where I don't actually believe that you didn't show some photographs of her around that bar.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, David and Joangela.
David Self is accusing his ex-girlfriend, Joangela Stroger, of throwing away his phone. Joangela is countersuing, claiming David shared private photos of her.
Okay, so you called her. You want to tell me why you called her yesterday?
I accidentally called her.
What's her number doing in your phone?
Because I keep all the numbers and everything just in case I have to get a hold of somebody. Because you know how many times I've been with her and back and forth, back and forth, back and forth?
Yeah.
Tons of times. You know what I mean?
You know, sir, something, Mr. Self. I don't believe you, sir.
Okay.
I don't believe you, and I don't believe that there was ever any reason for you to contact her boss. I think she has an order of protection.
Okay.
I'd like to see proof of service. Do you have it?
Yes. Oh, it's not connected with that. I'm sorry. If not, I have a picture of the service in front of his house.
Yeah. Server's name. So it was personal service.
And I do have a video after the fact of what she's talking about, the individual coming to the house. So I recorded
I'm just reading the proof of service, sir. You said you weren't served. I'd like to see proof of service. If you had proof of service, you were served.
I wasn't served.
Okay.
Just because you take a picture in front of the house and everything doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Why is that? I wasn't even at the residence at the time.
They took a picture of me.
Yeah, I would suggest to you, Mr. Self,
Stay away.
I would suggest to you that hire a lawyer.
Okay.
If you think that the service was improper, I'm satisfied with it, and another judge was satisfied with it, and I still don't understand why you wrote to her boss. Why you wrote to her boss afterwards. Any other communications?
To my boss, yes.
May I see it, please?
Joangela hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Well, this is also written on August 9th, sir. This is from you, and it's a very graphic email to her boss. You want to take a look at it?
I do indeed.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to show it to you.
Okay.
Joangela smirks.
Thank you.
Kevin brings the document to David, who examines it.
So this is really just stating the individual that they hired, that they...
No, I'm just asking you whether you sent that to her boss.
That is my email address, and that looks like my writing. That's correct.
The question is, did you send that to her boss?
Indeed.
Okay. May I have it, please? And that was after the events, a week after the events of the 2nd of August, right?
Okay, yes.
You want to tell me why you sent that to her boss?
Well...
I mean, it's not telling them that she's a thief, you have to be careful of her. It's talking about sexual things.
Where is it saying sexual things in that?
Oh, very easy. You say she lies to her boss about cramps while we lay in bed.
She is literally taking off of work saying that she's, sick or...
So I'm asking you why. Why would you send this to her boss?
It shows that she lies and manipulates and all sort of stuff to get her way.
Okay.
The fact of nature, I understand that I've been to prison and all sort of stuff. I could be the bad guy and all that great stuff. I understand that.
I'm not saying she's a good person.
Correct.
I'm not saying you're a bad person.
Correct.
She's got to pay for her phone.
Yes.
You got to pay for this. Because I'm at a point where I don't actually believe that you didn't show some photographs of her around that bar. I don't believe that you didn't show some photographs of her around that bar.
I would never do such a thing.
Just a second. Well, the same person who would never do such a thing wrote to her boss that you were present when she called her boss and said, I can't come to her because I have cramps, and she was laying in bed with you.
Correct.
Okay? And that same person wouldn't show a picture,
No.
Okay, good. On your counterclaim, I am awarding you $5,000 on your counterclaim. From that, I'm taking off the $500 because he had no right to trash his phone. There are alternatives. One of them is not trashing his phone. Therefore, ordering on the counterclaim a judgment for the defendant in the amount of $4,500. Plaintiff's case is dismissed. We're done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
David, then Joangela.
she gets away with it again.
The judge is very fair. Unfortunately, he tried to make me look like the bad guy, but the judge can see right through him.
Did I show her videos? Yes, where she was being irate over there in Huntington Beach.
That he's showing sexual videos of me and him.
The nudes and all that stuff, no. Why would I do something like that?
I went black, and that's the only reason why I threw the phone in the trash in the first place, because I felt helpless.
She sold me on this great person and everything, but come to find out, you know what, it's not what it is.
I gotta just be more careful with their phone around.
Judy.
I guess, Sarah, it's because of my generation, but I've been saying for a very long time, even before the internet, because, you know, I was, in fact, young at some point in my life, and they did have all kinds of cameras and Polaroid cameras back in the day. But never take a photograph of yourself or allow a photograph to be taken that you wouldn't like to see on the front page of the New York Times. And now with social media, I think that that's more true than ever. To me, why would you post anything or take a picture, allow a picture to be taken that might later embarrass you?
I agree to an extent, but I disagree with you that in this case, because the defendant mentioned that the plaintiff had taken some of this video and photo without her permission. And I think that now it can get a little bit blurry as to, well, I didn't approve my photo taken. Obviously, a sexually explicit photo getting sent to your boss is not the intended purpose of that photo. I think whoever sends that photo, misdirecting the intention of the photo, is the one that should be held accountable, not the person that was sending it in for a purpose of a long-distance relationship. There's many reasons why now people might send photos that they wouldn't want plastered on the front page of the New York Times. But as the recipient of a photo like that, you're
not supposed to republish it.
You have a responsibility, if you care enough about that person, to keep its intended purpose private.
I absolutely agree with you. But it is bad judgment, so I don't mind repeating at least my perspective, which is, if you don't want to see it out there, don't take it.
Title, Judy Justice.
Have you been cheated? Go to Judy. Pianchev is suing fellow motorist Spencer Gilbert for car damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2084, Popyachev versus Gilbert.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Popyachev, you were driving in your car, 2008 BMW.
That's correct.
And that was on the 14th of November of last year. Tell me what time of the day this accident happened.
It was approximately 3:15 p.m.
So daylight hours?
Yes.
And tell me where you were going.
I was going eastbound on Sunset Boulevard in Beverly Hills. I was driving...
Eastbound on?
Sunset Boulevard in Beverly Hills. I was driving in the right, so-called slow lane, when I tried to make a right turn.
Where?
It's an intersection. The name of the street is Palm Drive.
Is that intersection controlled by a light or stop sign?
No, there is no stop sign or a light.
At that intersection?
That is correct.
I assume somebody has a video or a photograph of that section that would demonstrate that there is no light. You do. Is there a light or a stop sign at that intersection?
No, Your Honor, there's not.
Did you put on your signal indicating a right turn?
Yes, I did.
How far from the corner?
I can't state distance, but it was approximately 5 seconds before I reached the intersection.
Was there traffic that day?
Yes.
A lot?
Very light. It was Sunday.
So far, Mr. Gilbert, is that correct, that there was light traffic on that day?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you were traveling on a motor something called a Vespa, which is a small...
Small scooter, yes, Your Honor.
But motorized.
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't know about these things, does a Vespa have to be registered and have a license plate on it?
I do have a license plate on the Reddit.
Okay, so your Vespa is registered as a motor vehicle, and you have a license plate.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now tell me what happened, sir.
As I proceeded to make a right turn onto Palm Drive, I just heard an airflow. It was a big bang. It was an impact.
On your passenger side?
Yes, on my right passenger side. And I realized that there was a small motorcycle or a moped that hit my vehicle.
Hit your side. And you were the person riding that Vespa?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. May I see the damage to your car?
Yes.
Kaloyan hands a photo to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
Sarah Rose, get me the price of the 2008 BMW 7 Series.
Will do.
Thanks.
Judy reviews a photo of a dented passenger door.
What you're talking about is this damage, sir. Is that correct?
Yes, front passenger.
I see.
Yeah.
I've just made a circle. Can you see the circle that I've made?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And that is, Mr. Gilbert, where you hit him with your Vespa.
It's where he hit me with his car.
No, he can't hit you sideways, sir.
He sideswiped me.
He can't hit you sideways, sir. He can't slide into you. Now, whose ever fault this was, I'll try to figure it out. But you hit him because this is the area of impact. Cars don't go sideways, they go front. You have pictures of your Vespa?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at them.
Your Honor, based on a 100,000-mile BMW 7 Series, between $4,700 and $7,800 is about the range.
I just want to know, because I have to see what this kind of he's suing for $10,000, which is ridiculous.
A photo of a scooter in a clump of shrubbery.
That doesn't show me much, actually. Okay, so I can't see the front of your Vespa, sir. I assume that the front is the end that's damaged because I see the back.
Yeah, the front end was completely collapsed.
So the front of your Vespa was damaged because that's where you hit him with your Vespa.
No, you're
The back end was not damaged, nor does it look like the sides are damaged. These are the pictures you gave me. The only thing I can't see is the front crushed end. Am I correct that I can't see the front crushed end? Okay.
Yes.
So now I'm telling you that based upon these photographs, yours and his, you hit his car. Okay, now that's the chart. Whose chart is that?
It's from the police report.
Great. Now, the police report doesn't show a bike lane there or any other lane. It shows that there's a car traveling in a car lane, and the Vespa hitting. See, he can't hit. You can hit. He can't hit you. Now, tell me, sir, why is it that you were driving where you were? You were behind him initially.
No, Your Honor. I was traveling eastbound down Sunset, heading to work. He was right next to me. When we got to Palm, he turned into me, pushed me. I barely was able to keep control of my vehicle.
Is what you're telling me that your Vespa was never behind his?
Caption, coming up.
This you're not getting. I want you to get this right out of your mind. Your whole car isn't worth $10,000. Let's be serious. I don't have all day. Do you have a bill?
And later today.
And I know you're dying to tell me that there was noise there, that you couldn't live there, that it was terrible. Well, that's what happens when you live in a place with a whole bunch of other people.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Kaloyan and Spencer.
Kaloyan Papionchev claims fellow motorist Spencer Gilbert owes for car damage after hitting him with his Vespa.
Is what you're telling me that your Vespa was never behind his?
No, I was never behind his vehicle.
Do we have any other video?
I do have a dash camera video of the...
May I see it, please?
Footage of a scooter colliding with the side of a car. The scooter crashes into a clump of shrubbery.
Play it again, please. Start from the beginning. So let's go slowly. Okay. Well, it's clear to me, Mr. Gilbert, that you came up behind him. Just go back a little bit. You weren't right next to him because...
I was next to him because as he slows down to make his turn, that's when he makes contact with me.
Slow motion footage of the scooter hitting the passenger side of the car.
I was right next to him the entire time.
Impossible. May I see the police report, please?
Yes, there's actually 2 police reports.
May I see them? Was anybody given a summons on that day? Nobody. Neither party was given a summons, is that correct?
Not that I know of, Your Honor.
Judy reviews the police report.
Okay, so this is the narrative after witnesses were questioned, and the opinion based upon the witnesses' testimony and yours, and the fact that the police officer actually heard in the video the clicking of the turn signal indicating a right turn approximately 5 seconds before the right turn was executed according to the police officer as a result of viewing the cam that he had, the video, that He was making a slow right turn. He had turned on his signal approximately 5 seconds before, and you were coming up on him on your right. And it says, based upon the video footage, I determined that the first car, and that would be his, should not have been placed at fault for this collision because he activated his turn signal and made a safe turn to go southbound on Park Drive. The fault of the collision is on the part of Mr. Gilbert for violating 21-755 CVC, which states in part that the driver of a vehicle may overtake and pass another vehicle on the right only under conditions permitting that movement safely. I'm reading you the police report. Do you have another police report?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Prior to this or after this one?
This is the only police report that I know of.
Oh.
I wasn't aware there was two.
Well, this was a supplementary police report. What is the date of yours?
All I have is what my lawyers gave me.
Oh, well, I'm going to show you this one, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
And this one was after viewing the cam.
Yes, Your Honor, my police report predates his.
Predates it. Well, that's after the officers looked at the dash cam, heard the signal, and saw you coming up from behind. I'll take it back now. I've seen the damage on your car, sir.
Yes.
Which, while I wouldn't like to have it on my car that's 14 years old, it is on your car. It's not worth $10,000. Your whole car isn't worth $10,000, sir. So if you want to show me a reasonable estimate for fixing that, I'll be more than happy to look at it.
Yes, I do. And this estimate was given to me by the only body shop that is authorized by BMW.
Well, find another body shop for a 14-year-old car. I'm certainly not going to consider giving you anything near the value of your total car for something that is on the door of one side of the car. Have you had the car fixed, sir?
I had the entire door replaced, but it's still...
Replaced by whom?
By a body shop.
Good.
Yeah.
And if you had the whole door replaced, you must have a bill. This you're not getting. I want you to get this right out of your mind. Your whole car isn't worth $10,000. Let's be serious. I don't have all day. Do you have a bill for the door that you replaced from a body shop, which is what I said a moment ago?
No, I do not have it with me. The vehicle is still due paint and dents and scratches repair.
Well, they're going to fix the car, and if they can fix the car for $2,000, have it fixed. That's my judgment. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Spencer, then Callahan.
Certainly not happy about it.
I am happy. It is something.
The problems that this gentleman's caused my life.
It happened in about 2 seconds.
I was like riding right next to the dude and he just turned into me and I went into the wall and that was pretty much it.
I had to call 911 immediately because I wasn't sure if he's dead.
Because of what he did, I wasn't able to go to work for 2 weeks. I lost 2 of my jobs.
First thing to do is you call 911 and then deal with, the rest of the circumstances.
Sarah and Judy.
One theme that we see far too often is plaintiffs coming here or to any court asking for a large sum of money, in this case $10,000 for a car that wasn't even worth $6,000. And instead of showing us an estimate of fairy tale land of what was going to fix it, show me a receipt for what you paid to fix the damage.
Yeah, he did fix the damage.
He fixed the damage already, replaced the whole door. You don't have a receipt for that. You don't have a bill. You don't have a nothing, which leads me to believe that it was a lot less expensive than $10,000. So I thought your judgment was generous, given that he had no proof. I would have said goodbye.
Well, he did damage the car. Not that I'm going into history, but as one who has, on occasion, hit a stationary object, even allegedly hit a stationary object, and get a little nick on a bumper on a car. It's expensive to fix a car. So he had a car that looked in perfect condition. It wasn't after it was hit. He's entitled to have it look like what it looked like before.
I just felt there was sort of a bait and switch with the $10,000 estimate, but I already got it replaced.
Fixed. I think that he said that. I think that he said that unintentionally.
I also think he did.
It's okay.
Won't get one over on us.
No.
Case 2090, Oquendo versus Villarreal. All parties, please step forward.
Amber Oquendo is suing her former tenant, Nancy Villarreal, for unpaid rent.
Miss Oquendo, you own a home.
Yes.
How large is the home?
It's 4-bedroom, 2-bath, and approximately 1,700 square feet.
When did you purchase the home?
2018.
Can I ask you what the cost was?
$225,000.
And you live there in the house, just you, with whom?
I don't live in that house. That's my rental.
You bought it as a rental?
Amber nods. Caption coming up.
Somebody was playing their music loud. It was a problem for you.
Yes.
You asked them to be quiet.
Yes,
you
Your
told her it was a problem.
Yes.
And then there was some sort of a kerfuffle. I don't know what happened. You want to tell me?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Amber and Nancy.
Amber Oquendo claims her former tenant, Nancy Villarreal, owes for unpaid rent. Nancy is countersuing for her security deposit.
Now, you bought it as a rental? You bought it as a business?
Originally, I purchased it and I lived in one room. My kids shared a room and I rented 2 rooms until I was able to establish basically a history of being a landlord. And I then purchased another home and I live in my own residence, and that one is fully a rental as of now.
And also a resident of that home are your parents?
Yes, they are in the master.
And you have another tenant there?
Yes, there are a few other tenants.
Tell me who.
So I have one tenant who has asked not to be identified by name, but he is in one room that I have marked as room number 2. And then I have another tenant who's in room number 3. And then Nancy was in room 4, and there's now a new tenant in that room.
Okay, this is what it's about. The defendant was a tenant of yours. It didn't work out. And it was a short tenancy. I think it lasted no more than a month.
Yeah, right.
Is that right? June of this year?
Yes, Your Honor.
It didn't work out. She left. It is your claim that she left owing you a month's rent. And I assume from your paperwork that the month's rent was $774.
So it was $650, and then the $774, the remaining difference was just for being served and then court costs, but month rent was $650.
$650. And when the defendant moved in the beginning of June, did she sign a lease?
Yes, and I'm just going to correct you, sorry. She moved in May 7th, so just wanted to correct that. But yes, she did sign a lease.
May I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Amber hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You have a copy of your lease, Miss Villarreal?
Yes, I do.
Okay, good.
Judy reviews the document.
So it's a month-to-month tenancy. It's an at-will with 30 days written notice. Okay. According to the lease, there was a security deposit of $650.
Yes, ma'am.
Did the defendant pay that when she moved in?
Yes, she did.
Okay, because that's your counterclaim. You say you want your security deposit back.
Yes, ma'am.
I assume from reading both of your complaint and answer that this turned out to be not a happy tenancy. You don't live there on a full-time basis. The defendant did live there for a short period of time. You moved in, rented a room, and you gave her $650, and you moved in on May 7th.
Yes, Your Honor.
Correct. And you moved out on what date?
I moved out on July the 10th.
So you were there for 2 months?
No, I was there for 1 month.
May to June, June, July. May 7th.
I moved in I believe it was June, because I moved out July the 7th.
Our lease was signed on May 7th, so I know that.
Yes, the term of the lease is beginning May 7th. That's the term of the lease, according to this. So I don't care when you moved in.
Okay.
The term of the lease was May 7th on a month-to-month basis. So you were there from May 7th to July 10th. So you were there for 2 months.
Okay.
We're going to get into the whys, wherefores in a moment, but did you pay the month of May?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you pay the month of
Yes,
May?
ma'am.
Good. Did you pay the month of June?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. And you lived there until July 7th?
No, I actually lived there until...
You just told me July 10th, as a matter of fact. Whitney's going to tell me what date you gave as your move-out date. You said it was July 10th.
She said, I moved out on July the 10th.
Okay, July, and it was, yes. July
So you
10th.
were there for 2 months?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, if you're there for 2 months and you only paid 1 month's rent.
Yes.
So far, you owe her 1 month's rent. Did you return her security deposit?
Yes.
Did you receive your security deposit?
Yes, Your Honor.
How much?
$650.
Okay, so you have no counterclaim. The counterclaim is for your security deposit. The rest of it is nonsense. You moved out, you wanted to pay your moving costs, your hotel fees, and everything else. That's ridiculous. Okay. So if you've received your security deposit now, what you owe her is a month's rent, which is $650. And I know you're dying to tell me that there was noise there, that you couldn't live there, that it was terrible. Well, that's what happens when you live in a place with a whole bunch of other people. Did you look at this room before you moved in?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Okay, so you went to the house. When you went to see the house, Amber was there. She introduced herself as the landlord. That's what it says here.
Yes.
And she let you know that she wasn't in the house, that her parents were in the house as tenants, but she wasn't in the house.
Yes.
And you moved in and somebody was making noise. somebody was playing their music loud. It was a problem for you.
Yes.
You asked them to be quiet.
Yes,
you
Your
told her it was a problem.
Yes.
And then there was some sort of a kerfuffle. I don't know what happened. You want to tell me?
Yes, Your Honor. I am a federal employee, Your Honor. And when I signed this lease back in May, it states there, and I'm also in recovery, Your Honor, and it states very clearly in the lease that there is absolutely no smoking on the premises or no drugs on the premises, Your Honor. There was absolutely marijuana being smoked in the house. And right after I brought that to her attention, I then received a 30-day termination notice.
Okay.
Because I absolutely could not live in that house anymore with my job. I felt it was not a safe place for me.
Where did you go?
Just
a second. Is that your son?
This is my son.
Okay. Does he live in the area? I know you called him and he came and helped you move.
Yes,
correct?
ma'am.
Who does he live with?
My son? He rents a room with roommates.
So he has roommates?
Yes.
Tell me where you went when you left. You didn't get a 3-day notice to quit. You got a 30-day notice from her that she was not renewing the lease pursuant to this.
Right.
You chose to leave in 3 days. That was your choice.
Because
you had 30 days to stay, and you had a month-to-month tenancy. Okay? You chose to leave. So where did you go?
I got a U-Haul. I didn't really have a place at the time to go, but my boy's grandmother offered her place to me, so I stayed there for a couple weeks. She said, you pay $180, I'll let you stay here for a couple weeks until I was able to find another place, Your Honor.
And then you did?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Great. Okay, so the security deposit you have, and she doesn't have her month's rent, which is $650. Are we done here? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $650. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Amber, then Nancy.
I am not aware of anyone using marijuana in my house.
There was marijuana being smoked in the house.
My dad says that he's not smelling it, so I guess I can't really attest to the legitimacy of that.
It was not a safe place for me to be.
Judy and Sarah.
You know, some people don't realize, Sarah, that if you leave a premises that you have lived in, it's like going to a restaurant and ordering a steak and then delivering the steak, you're taking a bite and say, you know, I really don't like that steak, and finishing it, and then telling the waiter you're not going to pay for the steak. I always say you ate the steak. If you're a tenant and you find the living conditions such that, you know, you find it untenable to live there, you have a prerogative of changing your residence, but you don't live there for 2 months and only pay for 1, and then make excuses because you ate the steak.
Title, Judy Justice.
Have you been cheated? Go to judyjustice.tv. Noah Joyner and Harland Hendrickson are suing their former employer, Christopher Ricks, for unpaid wages and vandalism.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Case 2094, Joyner Hendrickson versus Ricks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think that I'm going to start out with Mr. Joyner. Who is that? That would be you, because we start with you. He came in later to this scenario, is that right?
Right.
So let me try to understand, Mr. Joyner, what it is that you're suing the defendant for, considering what you wrote to me in your complaint. You were looking for a job. Whatever business you had went south, and you didn't have any money.
That's not true.
Well, let's see.
It was said like that, but we did not lose a...
After losing my jewelry business.
Yes, ma'am. That's not right.
Well, that's what you signed in your complaint.
Yes.
So I can only go by what you signed in your deposition. That you lost your jewelry business, that's what it says. Anyway, you were looking for a job. The defendant has a theater, among other businesses.
Yes, ma'am.
And you sought out the defendant, Mr. Joyner?
Yes, ma'am. I was...
Tell me how you sought him out.
I was vending at a coffee shop. I was vending my jewelry. It's not a lost business.
Would you just get on to how you met him?
Definitely. So I was vending there, and I saw at the theater Pride Weekend. So I had called Chris Ricks, said, hey, is it okay if I come up there and vend my jewelry?
Just a second. So you called him. Was his name on the poster? How did you find him?
I just called the theater's number, and he answered.
Okay, so you weren't calling him, you were just calling the number.
Yes, ma'am.
So you asked him, can I come and sell my jewelry at your theater? When was that?
That was Wednesday, June 16th, 2022.
Okay, and you were having some sort of an event?
Yes, ma'am.
Did Mr. Joyner come and set up his jewelry booth?
They did, in fact.
Were they charged for that?
No, I did not. I just simply offered the space. They kind of told me their backstory and that they were having financial troubles, and I was trying to do a good deed for the community.
Okay, so you were not charged for the space?
Right. Yes, ma'am.
And you went up there on what date to sell your jewelry?
We started Thursday night, June
17th, 2022.
When you say we, is that you?
All three of us, yes.
Okay, so did you sell any jewelry?
A little bit.
So not much, not enough for the three of you spending a day on the 17th. And then how did it come about that you sought out a job from Mr. Ricks? Because you did seek a job. On what date did you ask him if there was any work?
Thursday night. Thursday the 16th.
And what were you supposed to do?
Supposed to bartend, open, close.
That's not accurate.
I'll get to you.
And
what were you supposed to do?
And run the concession stand. Bartend, close, open, and run the concession stand.
During what hours?
4 p.m. that day till 12 a.m., 1 a.m. that night. Could not really remember.
Okay, and did you do that?
Yes.
And you weren't selling your jewelry at that time?
I was going off and on, so anytime he had called me for a different job, I would take that. Sorry.
So the answer is you were doing both.
Yes, ma'am.
So you were doing your own business and doing whatever task Mr. Ricks asked you to do.
Yes.
That was on the 16th. And did he pay you for that work?
Yes, he ended up
And
paying
just
us.
a second. And how much did he give you?
Gave us $264 for that weekend.
Not we.
I gave me $264 that weekend.
Did he work that weekend?
Yes, we all three worked that weekend.
Doing what?
Everything.
Well,
we
Mr.
opened.
Hendrickson is not suing for any wages from him other than for the painting that he did later. I'm asking you, what did you do for him and when, and how much did you get paid?
I did opening, closing duties for him. I ran a bar.
For how many days?
4 days, Your Honor.
4 days.
In the beginning, but I did pick up more stuff whenever he called me for more opportunities. So he would be like, hey, we have jam band tonight. So I would say, okay, I could work.
Okay, so you worked, say, until June 20th, you said, for 4 days, and then you would work after that period of time?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you stop going to the theater for the purposes of doing anything for Mr. Ricks? Month and day?
Oh.
One of the things you're supposed to have, Mr. Joyner, when you come to court, and if you're suing for wages, is you're supposed to have it right here, right in the front of your brain. What date you started, what date you stopped, what hours you worked, what you did. That's what you're supposed to have. Do you understand? Okay. Mr. Ricks, on what date was the last date you saw Mr. Joyner at your theater doing anything?
Saturday, June 25th.
So it would be a fair statement that certain days you saw him between the 16th of June and the 25th of June.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you told me about the 16th that you started working part-time because you were back and forth between your own business and doing something for him, for which actually he gave you free space to sell your jewelry. Now, when you go someplace, you usually pay for space to sell your jewelry, right?
Right.
Well, I mean, I know that because I've had hundreds of cases involving people who rent space in a theater or under a tent or in a yard so that they can sell their jewelry. He gave it to you for nothing.
Yes.
And you're back and forth doing little errands for him on the 16th. Like what? 16th, while you were selling your jewelry. Tell me what you did.
We worked the jam band for them that night.
Not a we. I don't want to hear a we.
I worked the jam band that night. He has like a jazz band that comes in and performs.
And what do you mean you worked?
I worked the concession. I opened, closed, bartended for him. Anything that he was calling me over to do.
That's a little too loosey-goosey for me.
No, I can tell
That's a little too loosey-goosey for me. Okay, let's go. What did he do, if you remember, on the 16th?
On the 16th, 17th, and 18th, that's when they had their jewelry set up. He did not work my concession stand at all. He did not work for me that time at all.
That's not
true.
He
started working.
Don't speak. Do not speak. Do you see I asked you questions? He was quiet. Now it's his turn to speak. Now you have to be quiet. You understand?
He worked Sunday, June 19th, from 9 to 2, which was 5 hours. That was brunch. He worked June the 22nd. They were late. They arrived at 3:12.
You said they arrived.
Both of them came that day.
On the 20s?
On June the 22nd.
22nd.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the first time that both Mr. Joyner and Mr. Hendrickson came together?
To work for me in a theater capacity, yes.
Okay. That's incredible. And that was June 19th?
No, that was June the 22nd. Actually, I misspoke. I apologize. They both worked June 19th for brunch. They both worked June the 22nd. On June the 24th, he had a text meltdown, and then he came to work and worked 5 to 9. I have their hours exactly.
5 to 9, and that's just Mr. Joyner or both of them?
They both came on June the 25th, Your Honor.
And worked from when to when?
On the 25th, which is Saturday, he worked from 5:20 to 10:30. He passed on the concession opportunity where he could have made more money.
No, but he worked doing what?
He trailed me. I was trying to teach him managerial type cash in, cash out, et cetera, and the business situation of the theater, because that's what he proposed to me that he was educated to do. And so
You mean managing a theater?
Yeah, just kind of helped me with open, close duties, overseeing that tasks are done by the other employees, et cetera.
Okay, so it sounds as if he and Mr. Hendrickson worked for a limited number of days.
Correct.
How many days in total?
In the total project, which is painting.
No, not
just the
painting.
theater. Just the theater.
Just in the theater.
Joyner worked 4 days at the theater, and Harland worked 3 days at the theater.
Okay, and how many?
4, I beg your pardon.
4.
Yes, ma'am.
Your last day of work, there was the 25th of June?
Yes, ma'am. At the theater.
I'm talking
18.
about only at the theater.
I think he worked 18 hours, just at a quick glance here.
18 hours during the 4 days.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Hendrickson, how many hours did he work on? You don't have anything in front of you, Mr. Hendrickson, so I assume you have nothing. No physical evidence, is that right?
Correct, Your Honor.
All right, good. How many hours?
Just under 12, actually.
Say 12 hours. So one worked 18 hours, one worked 12 hours. Do you have any data to indicate that those hours are wrong?
No, ma'am.
Okay, great.
Caption, coming up.
There was no actual documentation, like we did not have a clock in, clock out, but the 18 hours is not correct, though. We have
Just
no
a second.
data.
You have no data.
Right.
He does.
It's not actual fact. It's not fact.
I don't know whether it's factual. How do I know? You're supposed to keep track.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Noah, Harland, and Christopher.
Noah Joyner and Harlan Hendrickson claim their former employer, Christopher Ricks, owes for unpaid wages and vandalism. Christopher is countersuing for damage to his apartment complex and slander.
Okay, how much were you paid, Mr. Joyner? Because part of it is your wages that you're requesting for working in the theater. How much in total did Mr. Ricks pay you?
$264.
That's for the theater work?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much, Mr. Hendrickson, did Mr. Ricks pay you?
$204.
Sarah, do math for me, would you please? 18 into 264 and 12 into 204. Now, on what date, Mr. Joyner, because this is where it gets sort of fuzzy to me. So far, this is what I'm getting, that the three of you were trying to start a business that was marginally successful in selling jewelry. So far, do we agree on that?
Yes, ma'am.
And as part of selling your jewelry, you approached the defendant, and it was really a cold call. You called a regular number, not Mr. Ricks personally, and told him your story. And he said, well, if you want to come down, I'll give you free space to sell your jewelry. And that was within his theater area.
Yes, ma'am.
So you would say that was very nice of him. And you worked for him, and he showed you the place, he showed you the books, he showed you, you started to do other things. Now, at some point, this is where I go a little fuzzy with you, Mr. Joyner, and maybe you can help me understand you. So you have someone who's been nothing but nice to you so far. On what date did you file a complaint with Alcohol and Beverage Control?
That was July 5th, 2022.
So let me figure this out. So you worked for him at the theater until June 25th. On July 5th, is that what you told me?
Well, after the 25th of June, so we had kind of like a weird period where we were trying to figure out if we still wanted to finish the apartments for him. And
No apartments. We haven't gotten to the apartments yet. I'm going to get to the apartments because he asked you to paint apartments. You went over there, and that's another part of your lawsuit. Just a second. Sarah Rose, how much did Mr. Joyner make per hour?
$14.60.
Minimum wage.
And Mr. Hendrickson
It's 11 in Arkansas.
would be 17 an hour.
And he made 17 an hour.
Correct, for 12 hours at $200.
But there was no actual.
Hours are not correct.
There was no actual documentation. Like we did not have a clock in, clock out. But the 18 hours is not correct, though. We have no data.
Just a second. You have no data.
Right.
He does.
But there's no it's not actual fact. It's not fact.
I don't know whether it's factual. How do I know? You're supposed to keep track.
Yes, ma'am.
You're supposed to keep track.
We're not the business owners.
Just a second. You want the money.
Theater.
Right now, he's paid you more than the minimum wage for being around. I mean, the theater ran for how many years before they worked for you for 6 days?
Been about a year and a half. I bought it during COVID.
Okay, and this was your first time working in a theater?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so you had no fund of information. He wasn't paying you for expertise. He was paying you for those few days, and you were following him around, opening, closing a stand, whatever you were doing, and you were paid more than the minimum wage, which is, I assume, more than you made selling your jewelry for the 3 days you were there.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Right.
Okay, I'm still going to wait for this answer, because at some point after you stopped working for him at the theater, and after you had mulled over some information that you thought you had acquired while you were working for him, I want you to do a step-by-step why you contacted the authorities, because he does have an alcohol license, right? I assume if you have an alcohol, if you contact, don't look at each other. Just look at me. I'm actually the nastiest one here.
Agree.
Well, so alcohol beverage control. So what information, sir, did you give alcohol beverage control that caused the investigation?
Your Honor, he was not the one that called them. I was.
We both called. So what happened during the time that we were working those 4 days, he would serve other people alcohol. He would get on our asses about IDing people, how to sign the papers for ABC, everything. And I made sure to take a picture of the number. I didn't take a picture of the whole document itself.
What are you talking about? What document?
The ABC paper. Whenever we had to sign the paper saying that if we didn't ID someone and the ABC came in and found out about it, we would be fined and we would be held responsible, not Chris. We had to sign those papers.
Okay.
That stuff.
So you signed the papers.
But during that, after we signed that, we noticed Chris was still giving out free alcohol to people, pouring it, wasn't even checking people's IDs. So I called the ABC and I said, I think there's suspicion that he's giving minors alcohol. Because there were people there that were 19 years old that were coming up to us saying, oh, well, yeah, we're 19, but we're cool with Chris, and stuff like that, in ways. Like they had a way with Chris or whatever, friends with Chris. We just started working there. We don't know the regulars. We don't know what the life is like.
I'm just trying to think of why you would do that for somebody who was, forget whether I believe you or not, forget the loosey-goosey of what you just told me. Maybe he said,
We actually have a recording that he admitted to giving one of our 19-year-old employees alcohol. Because he said...
And? Just tell me, and? I want to know why you called them on July 5th. You were no longer there. Did that have to do with the painting? Was that before or after you started painting?
That was after we started painting.
Of course it was after you started painting. Now, so let's go to the second part of your lawsuit. Second part of your lawsuit involves the work that you both did for him. You have an apartment complex, Mr. Ricks.
Correct.
And that apartment complex contains how many apartments?
20. I bought it as a rehab.
And
it was completely vacant. And
at the time that you asked them if they wanted to paint it, it was vacant, all 20 units?
Correct.
Tell me, how did you approach Mr. Ricks, or he you, about this house painting job?
We were trying to get away from all the stuff that we were seeing and hearing at the theater. So we asked if he had other jobs for us, and he said he had apartments that needed to be painted last week, and that if we could get in there and finish them, great.
Okay, now I'm going to come back to what you just told me. You just told me that you saw things at the theater that he served somebody that you know who was 19 alcohol. And that was very distressing to you. So distressing that you said to him, do you have any other work for us?
It wasn't just that
just a second.
instance.
Just
no,
ma'am.
Caption, coming up.
How many hours did you work on each of those days, Mr. Hendrickson?
I do not remember the hours for the days, but I calculated all the hours together, and it was 52.
Well, then you know how many hours you worked.
Technically, yes.
What do you mean, technically, yes?
Whitney grins. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Noah, Harland, and Christopher.
Noah Joyner and Harlan Hendrickson claim their former employer, Christopher Ricks, owes for unpaid wages and vandalism. Christopher is countersuing for damage to his apartment complex and slander.
Okay. Did he take you over to paint the complex in handcuffs? Did he take you over there in a van? Did you ask him for additional work?
He's the only person really in Hot Springs, Arkansas that we felt like we could relate to and feel comfortable working for.
I asked you a very simple question. Give me a very simple answer. Did you ask him for more work?
Yes.
And did he say, I have an apartment complex that needs painting?
Yes.
And did you agree on a price?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the name of the last person that you did painting for? House painting.
I did it for my parents when we built our house, but that's...
Very nice. I also painted a room once in my dining room when I was 24 years old. I actually thought I did a pretty good job. I would not hire myself out as a house painter, but because I painted my parents' living room when I was 12. So the answer is you had
The reason why he was asking us to paint because he couldn't find someone else to paint for him because he wasn't paying people.
I didn't ask no to paint.
Shh.
That's correct.
Just a second. Sir.
I was not asked to paint.
Sir.
No.
Mr. Jordan, you know where your problem is? Your problem is you were dissatisfied with what you saw at his theater. And then you went, and now I'm speaking. You were dissatisfied with what you saw at his theater. While you were there, working at the theater, you did nothing about it. Zero. Even if it was true, you did nothing about it.
We didn't want to lose our jobs at the time, Your Honor.
You didn't have jobs at the time. You stopped working for him on the 25th of June. You didn't call alcohol until July 5th, you said, so you were no longer working for him in the theater. So it didn't start to bother you, really. June 22nd, June 23rd, June 24th, June 25th, the 26th, the 27th, the 28th, the 29th, the 30th, all the way up until July 5th.
The ABC report was not just filed by me, and it wasn't just on July 5th. There was also another instance where it was filed earlier, but that was with them, and there's no evidence about it.
Just a second. You filed July 5th.
Yes, ma'am.
Now you're going to tell me what happened with the painting, because you finished the painting kerfuffle happened in July. Is that right?
Right.
And it was after the painting kerfuffle that you called alcohol beverage. After the painting kerfuffle.
Well, it was during. It was during.
What?
It was during, kind of, almost.
You're getting the feeling that
it
I'm not
wasn't just me that
you're
filed
getting,
the report
you're
with
getting,
ABC.
Well, just a second. You mean one of these other people who was also jobless?
Filed.
I don't care.
So we shouldn't have reported it at all.
No,
I'm
trying to get to your motive, sir. If it was so abhorrent,
my motive. I have no motive. I am just owed
don't try to speak over me. Don't try to speak over me. That doesn't
fight for what I'm
work.
owed.
So far, you're not owed a thing for the theater. Now we're getting to the painting. I'm just trying to see what motivates somebody. And I'm not excusing the fact that if Mr. Ricks serves alcohol to minors, that's not a good thing to do. He can get into real difficulty. They conducted an investigation as a result of the calls. All I have to ask you is this. Do you still have your liquor license?
Absolutely.
Okay. Was it ever revoked?
No. And I've had multiple in the state of Arkansas.
So you're not owed any money for the theater. Now we're going to get to the paint. When did you start painting in the complex? Date.
June 27th. 2022.
6/27. Did you paint there 6/28?
Yes.
Did you paint there alone or with Mr. Hendrickson?
Mr. Hendrickson.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you paint on June 29th?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you paint after June 29th?
No, Your Honor.
So you painted there for 3 days. Is that correct?
Actually, 5 days that I was there. I started on the 23rd.
I was there for 3.
And did you work the 23rd?
I worked the 23rd through the 29th.
Just 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th. So you work weekends?
Yes.
It's not.
Did you work weekends?
I worked the 23rd through the 29th, 7 days.
Well, 7 days. Just a second. Pay attention to me. 7 days includes a weekend,
Yes.
Saturday and Sunday. Did you work
Yes.
Saturday and Sunday?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Not Sunday.
I'm going to go back to you. Did you work Saturday and Sunday?
I worked the morning of Sunday, and I left 3 hours after getting there.
Okay, so forget Sunday. Now, how many hours did you work on each of those days, Mr. Hendrickson?
I do not remember the hours for the days, but I calculated all the hours together, and it was 52.
Let me understand what you just said to me. You don't know how many hours in each day, but you calculated them together and came up to 52 hours. Would you repeat what he said to me? Because it's mind-boggling to me.
He said, I do not remember the hours for the days, but I calculated all the hours together, and it was 52.
Now, How do you calculate let me ask my question, sir. How do you calculate up to 52 when you don't remember how many hours you worked each day?
Looking at the text messages and seeing when I got there and when I left, because I texted him when I opened the doors and when I locked up.
Well, then you know how many hours you worked.
Technically.
What?
Technically, yes.
What do you mean, technically, yes?
Because they're not completely correct. I didn't text him right when I got there, and I didn't text him right when I was leaving. I texted him when I got home or after I had started.
Okay, let's go back.
To be continued.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv. Is suing her former friend, James Sorensen, for personal training and a fraudulent investment.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Case 2125, Anderton versus Sorensen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Anderton, your case against the defendant is twofold. First, you claim a loan to him in the amount of $10,000. And while he doesn't deny that you gave him $10,000, it is his defense that this was not a loan, but an investment in a project that went south. It went south because somebody conned him, and thus you were conned as well. Somebody took off with the money. The second part of your lawsuit is that Mr. Sorensen is a trainer of some sort, a personal trainer, fitness trainer, and you retained him to put you on some sort of a regimen of both diet and exercise. And you paid him in advance. He wasn't forthcoming with all of the training sessions he was supposed to give you, became unavailable. You want a refund of some of that money. So the first thing I'm going to deal with in your lawsuit is the $10,000 exchange of money. If I find that that, in fact, was a loan or was fraudulently entered into as a result of being duped and being a dope, then I'm going to give you back the money. Then I don't have to get to the training because that's the limit of my jurisdiction. Do you understand?
I understand.
Okay, great. How did you meet him?
I met him on a dating site, actually.
When?
Early June 2021.
Did you date?
We befriended each other. And after our first meeting, that is when I had just come off of a ventilator of 10 days. I was a nurse, contracted COVID. He actually came to my home and said, I could really help you get back to where you were. I needed rehab.
Okay, so after the first meeting, you were not dating?
No.
Is that right, sir?
That's correct.
And that was in June of 2021?
Yes.
When did you, Mr. Sorensen, tell Ms. Anderton about this investment opportunity?
It was about a month into...
So 4 weeks later?
Right.
4 weeks later, you became close enough to discuss with her a business opportunity?
Yes.
And did you discuss this business opportunity with her in her home or over the phone?
In her home.
So I want you to tell me your version of exactly what you told her.
So I had a friend come to me and...
You had a friend whose name is?
His name is Scott.
Scott what?
I can't remember his last name.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
If it's true, then it didn't happen. If it's true that you can't remember his last name, it's because he doesn't exist.
Oh, he does exist.
Oh, sir, you didn't give all that money to somebody whose last name you don't know. I want you to understand that. Then you're looking at me and saying I must have stupid written on my forehead. You don't look like a stupid man.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, you look like you could be a cunning man, but you don't look like a stupid man. So if Scott doesn't have a last name, he didn't exist. I want you to tell me that's in my brain. In my brain is if you can't come up with a first and last name of somebody that you gave thousands of dollars to, he didn't exist.
Okay, in your mind.
Keep going.
I'm not going to keep going and dig any holes. I'm just telling you what the facts are.
No, those aren't facts, sir. That's a fantasy. You know, you're not mentally challenged in any way, are you?
No.
I want to tell you, if I told my 9-year-old grandchild who asked me for $100 because she wanted to invest it with a friend, I would say, what's the friend's name? I don't know. So I'm not giving you $100 to invest with somebody whose name you don't know, because I'm absolutely positive that if you said that to her, she would have said, well, what's this person's name? I want you to tell me now, Mr. Sorensen, what was the investment?
It was for Happy Pills.
It was for what?
Happy Pills.
Judy turns to Sarah.
Don't look at me.
Happy? Did you say Happy Pills?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about it. Tell me what you told her. You want to invest in happy pills.
Yes.
What she'd say to you? She'd say to you, I'm a nurse, you know, so I'm an educated person. What's wrong with you? Okay, keep going. Keep going. I want to invest in happy pills.
Right.
Your friend Scott.
Yeah, it was a friend of a friend. His name was Scott. Okay, and he introduced me to him and said that, hey, he went.
No, you mean Scott introduced you to somebody else?
No, my friend introduced me to Scott. I didn't know his last name, but we knew that he was in the industry.
Okay, so your friend introduced you to Scott.
Yes.
What's your friend's name?
His name is John. I promise.
Where does he live?
He lives in Salt Lake.
What's his telephone number?
I have no idea what his telephone number is.
Just a second, get out your phone and tell me what your friend's telephone number is. Everybody has their friend's number in their phone.
I don't know what his telephone number is.
Then you see why I don't believe you? Do you understand why I'm having a problem with your story?
It's okay.
Do you understand why I'm having? So a friend whose number you don't have in your phone wanted to introduce you to somebody whose name you don't know to invest in happy pills. And this is what you told her? No, I'm asking you a question. Is this what you told her? I have a friend.
This is what I
John, I have a friend, John, who knows a guy, Scott, who has this company that's going to make happy pills. I just want to know if that's what you're trying to tell me that you told this woman.
I am. It's okay.
Judy glares at James. Caption, coming up.
I don't know why she would make up that story that my parents gave me.
No. She's not making up the story. You're making up the story.
Okay.
And if I'm wrong about this, I actually don't feel badly, sir, because then you're the dope that got duped.
And later today.
You devalued her car while you had it.
Yeah, okay.
You used the car for 2.5 years that was running. It stopped running because the engine was blown.
Yes.
And then you stopped making the payments on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whitney grins. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jennifer and James.
Jennifer Anderton claims her former friend, James Sorensen, owes her for a fake $10,000 investment.
Okay, keep going.
You know what happy pills are?
I assume that they make you happy.
Right. Yeah, they are. It's Molly.
I assume that they make you happy.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. And so he went around to festivals and he sold Molly there.
He sold what?
Molly.
Molly's.
MDMA. It's an illegal drug.
Oh, okay. So you told her you wanted her to make an investment with you with a big return on your money.
We talked about this for a long time.
Who did?
Me and...
You can't have talked about it for a long time, sir. You only knew her 4 weeks.
Okay.
You only knew her 4 weeks. Tell me about this $10,000. Did you take it out of a savings account? Do you have that from the bank?
Yeah.
I'd like to take a look at it. You want to tell me, Miss Anderton, the circumstances surrounding you transferring $10,000 to him?
He approached me saying that he needed a hard money loan for his business. He had an e-commerce business with supplements. His father and mother had given him the loans in the past, for the past 5 years, and they've gotten a good return. It was a for sure deal. He goes around and this is their festival project time. They make a lot of money doing this.
What does he do?
For supplements.
So he sells supplements?
Yes.
And it was his business? Mm-hmm. Yes. Did he ever mention a guy, Scott, to you?
No.
It was his business?
Yes.
And he said that his parents had helped him out in the past, had invested with him in the past. So now I understand a little bit better. I see the withdrawal for $10,000. So tell me why he needed a hard money loan.
To buy the product to take to these festivals and...
Sell them.
Sell them, yes.
Okay.
So he needed it for product.
And when did he tell you that he was going to return this money?
Within a week or two. That it was a week or two of festivals. This was the busy season. He does this every year, and this is a for sure return. And if I did this much amount of money, $5,000, this is how much I'd get back. If I did $10,000, it would be a $15,000 return for me. And I'm like, wow, I could pay off my student loans. I could, yes, do a lot with that.
Okay, so to synthesize what you told me, he told you that this was an investment in his company.
A loan.
A loan, excuse me. A loan for his company for products so that he could go out, sell them for the next several weeks,
right.
And you would get a return of 15% on your money.
50%. So a 10...
50? Mm-hmm. 50? Mm-hmm. Sounds too good to be true.
Yeah.
has nothing to do with the company.
The Venmo transfer of $2,000 was to him in June?
June 16th of 21.
And a withdrawal of $8,000?
Same day.
Okay. Now, where did you put that money, sir?
I gave it to Scott.
Okay. Okay. I want to tell you, Mr. Sorensen, you have parents who gave you money?
They have in the
Just a
past,
second.
not as you would
just say you
say.
have parents that gave you money.
They did not ever give me money for my business, ever.
What did they give you money for?
Christmas? They never financed for me for anything in my life. Okay. Nothing.
Oh, then you lied about
I don't know why she would make up that story that my parents gave me.
No. She's not making up the story. You're making up the story.
Okay.
And if I'm wrong about this, I actually don't feel badly, sir, because then you're the dope that got duped.
Oh, absolutely. I know.
Then, just a second. That if you gave money to John, to Scott, then you're the dope that got duped because they were your friends. That's all I have to tell you.
I understand.
That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, James, then Jennifer.
I think it was fair.
I think that was a fair judgment.
We both understood what we were getting into.
No, not until after like 3 or 4 months, and I think he brought that up in fear of me going to the police.
Time to part ways, and definitely learning curves on both ends.
Don't do silly things. It was definitely a learning curve.
I'm glad that things happened the way they did.
Something I'll never do again. Be a little more careful with your money and your investments, and don't trust everybody. I'm too trusting.
Sarah and Judy.
I just find it very funny that his entire business venture, was selling illegal drugs at festivals. That was the only plan. That was the whole venture. There was no...
That's really what he said.
Whether it was Scott, whether it was John, whether it was
But that
Joe.
was the business plan. That's Happy Pills. Thank you, by the way, for explaining what that was to me.
I didn't understand at first either, but when he said Molly at festivals, it's like, I'm pretty sure that's illegal. I'm pretty sure that's not a business.
Right.
So I'm glad she got her money back.
Me too. Me too. It was ridiculous.
There was a couple dopes getting duped in that situation.
You're absolutely right.
Case 2107, Breland versus Chenal. All parties, please step forward.
Kashana and Michael Breland are suing Kashana's stepdad, Harry Schnall, for car repairs and damage credit.
Miss Breland, this is your stepfather.
Yes.
That's your dad.
Yes.
This is your claim. He needed a car because his car, which was an old Cadillac, was going in for repair. Your dad had bought you a car in 2018.
Yes.
And when he bought you this car in 2018, it was a 2013 car that you kept 18, 19, and 20?
The vehicle? No, I had the vehicle from 2018 to July 2019.
So just for 1 year?
Yep, July in 2019 was when I made the agreement to give the vehicle to...
Okay. You made the agreement to give it to your stepfather with a proviso because you were buying a new car, another car.
Yes.
According to you, that he would take over the payments on the car because there was a loan on the car that you were paying off and that your father was a signatory on.
Yes.
And you have children, and I don't know why this car was no good for you anymore, but you said you got another car because of your children.
Yes, I got another vehicle because I had an additional son, and it just wasn't enough room for 3 kids.
What kind of car is it?
It was a GMC Terrain. It's an SUV 5-passenger, but I felt like I needed a little bit more room, so I ended up getting a 7-passenger. That way I could have the 3rd row.
Okay. So according to you, the arrangement was he would take over the payments on the car, and the car would be turned over to him as soon as he finished making the payments on the car.
Yes.
Was that your agreement with him?
Yes, that was our agreement.
And he did make payments on the car in 2019, 2020, 2021, and according to you, he stopped making payments in 2022. What month in 2022?
January 2022 was the last payment I received.
As a result of which, both of your credits were at risk. He dropped the car off at some relative's house because the engine was blown. He had it towed to some relative's house and stopped making the payments.
Yes, that is correct.
Your stepfather says, well, that really wasn't the agreement. My Cadillac wasn't working. It was in the shop in 2019. And the agreement was, while the car was in the shop, I would use your car and pay you $225 a month for it. But as soon as my car was out of the shop, you would take the car back. That's what you say, sir.
Yes. Yeah, I would take it back until my car got fixed. And the only reason it took so long to get fixed because of the pandemic, you know. And
why? People couldn't go into their garage to fix a car?
Yes, they probably could, but at that time, I really didn't have the money to go and pay for it, so I just...
Well, that's your problem.
I understand that.
Well, that's your problem. So the car was fixed, but you didn't have the money to go and pick up the car.
No, it wasn't fixed.
Oh.
So I didn't have them fixed until I'd be able to get the money to go have it fixed.
Did you explain that to her, sir, when she gave you the car?
No. See, my agreement thought I was going to keep the car until my car gets fixed and I would make the monthly payment. That's what I had.
I understand that, but what... Yeah. I understand that.
Okay.
Mr. Chenal.
Yes.
But taking your story, if my stepfather said to me, listen, I'll take your car, I have a car that's in the shop, I'll use it and pay for it while the car's being fixed.
Not what?
In my view, that would be, well, maybe it would take you 2 weeks. Maybe it would take you a month. Maybe it would take you 2 months, but it wouldn't take you 3 years.
Your Honor, what I'm saying, my car wasn't in the shop, my car was broke down. And I told her, I thought we had agreement to me make the payment on that car till I get ready to get
you told me that already.
Car fixed, but I didn't put it in the shop till I was able to put it in the shop to get fixed.
You devalued her car while you had it.
Yeah, okay.
You devalued the car. You got a car that was running. You used the car for 2.5 years that was running. It stopped running because the engine was blown.
Yes.
So it was dead stop. You had to have it towed to somebody's house.
Yes.
And then you stopped making the payments on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying.
Right.
Caption, coming up.
I think she had a lemon because...
She didn't have a lemon. You drove it for 2 years.
Yes, but I just had got the oil changed in that car a month before the engine blew.
And you drove it for 2 years.
Yes.
Well, then it wasn't a lemon.
Carrie furrows his brow. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Kashana, Michael, and Harry.
Kashana and Michael Breland claim Kashana's stepdad, Harry Schnall, owes for car repairs and damage credit.
Now, you have to act not only responsibly, but it would seem to me morally. This is your stepdaughter. You've known her for a long time.
Yes.
She went out, based upon her agreement with you, she went out and bought another car.
Yes.
Does the other car have a loan?
Yes.
Well, now she's stuck with 2 loans, and one of them has a car that you blew the engine on.
I made sure the main was up on that car. I think she had a lemon because...
She didn't have a lemon. You drove it for 2 years.
Yes, but I just had got the oil changed in that car a month before the engine blew. I don't know why the engine blew.
How many years did you have the car?
2 years.
And you drove it for 2 years?
Yes.
Well, then it wasn't a lemon.
Okay.
How much was left on the loan of the car?
There is still $3,752.63 owed left on the vehicle.
Okay, and where is the car now?
It is parked at a relative's house.
Your problem is the car is in your name. So you have to sell the car, subject to this lien. You have to be able to get something for the car. Do you understand?
Yes.
What's the value of that car?
Based on 80,000 miles, it didn't say in the papers, but around 7,000 to 9,000.
And what if it's in very poor condition?
I have to look into it.
Take a look and see, because this car so far is not running.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been running for almost now a year.
Yes, that's correct.
So at best you can sell it for scrap. So you have to get the car and you can scrap it because nobody's going to buy it when they can't drive it.
So Kelley Blue Book will not provide an estimate for poor conditions, vehicles that are not running or in poor condition. But for a fair condition, they say between 5,000 and 6,000.
Well, this is non-running.
I know.
I've been not running for a year.
I can't get an estimate for a non-running vehicle from Kelley Blue Book.
So now I know what the parameters are. You want to tell me about where this agreement took place with your stepfather?
The agreement took place at the car lots, because I was in the middle of getting a new vehicle, so we were at the car lot.
So that was in 2019?
July 3rd, 2019.
So you went with him to get the new car?
Yes.
Oh, good. So tell me about the conversation.
So I asked him, I was like, hey, do you think that, because in order for me to get this new vehicle, they said that I had a debt to income ratio thing because I couldn't get a new vehicle with owing money on the other vehicle. So I said, hey, how does this sound? You're down a vehicle because the engine blew on your prior vehicle. How about I give you this car, you finish making the payments on it, and then I get my new vehicle. But in order for me to get my new vehicle, I needed a co-signer. So I said, how about this? How about you co-sign on this new vehicle for me? Yes, my stepfather. You co-sign on this new vehicle for me. I'll make the payments like I always do, and you just take over the payments on my GMC Terrain. He said, okay, yep, we can do that because I need another vehicle.
So he is the co-signatory on your new car?
That at the time, that was the vehicle that I had. I now have a different vehicle.
You mean in 2019 you had yet another car?
Yes. But I made sure that I paid it off and there was no effect to him by any means. Okay. Because I knew that, it wasn't just in my name, it was in his name also. So I didn't want to do that to him. So I made sure that not only did I pay the vehicle off, but I got the transmission repaired and then I sold it.
So what does your father have to do with this case?
So my father was affected because with the payments being late.
The car was in my name also.
Oh, so it was in joint
Yes,
names, you and your daughter?
Well, they were supposed to put it as me, the co-signer, but they put me as the
primary.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Have you been making the payments since January?
I was making payments on it from February to September.
And then what happened?
I couldn't afford to make the payments anymore. I'm a single mom of four kids.
So what happened?
So it's behind now.
Since September?
Yep, it's behind since.
September, October, November. So it's behind 3 months.
Yes.
Have
they notified you that they want to repossess it?
No,
they haven't
not repo. They've given us options to try to save our credit after
Okay, I'd like to see what those options are. Did they send it to you in writing?
No.
Did they send you a
it was
letter?
verbal on the phone when they called, and we were discussing other options that they may offer to
Okay, so
make
what was
this
the
so
best
it's not
option
worse.
that they offered you?
The best option that they offered was basically to come up with about $396 to pay to get the car note caught up because it was 4 months behind. The car note's $225 each month. So it wouldn't have got...
So they didn't offer you a whole payout. They just offered you...
To catch up.
To catch up.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. But still, what's due and owing on the car is $3,752.
Yes.
Okay. And when your stepfather agreed to that, did he say anything to you with regard to his Cadillac going in for service and he was going to just use it until his Cadillac got...
No, Your Honor, that is incorrect.
Okay. You remember going with your stepdaughter when she was purchasing a new car in 2019?
Yes, I do.
Did you co-sign that car for her?
Yes.
So far what she says is accurate.
Yes.
And at that time, did you take her old car?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I have no idea what you can get for this car. And you know how you relied on him to be a good guy and to do what he was supposed to do?
Yes.
I'm awarding you $3,752. That's for you to pay off the bank. Then I don't think you can find a buyer for this car. You may have to scrap it, right?
Yes.
It's possible that there's no point in fixing it. You're not going to invest thousands of dollars in fixing it when it probably is at best worth $5,000. And if it's going to cost you $3,000 to try to get it up and running, it doesn't pay. It doesn't pay. So I'm going to rely on you to do the right thing. It sounds as if you do that. That while I'm awarding you $3,752, whatever money you get for the car goes to him. Do you understand? If you scrap it for $70, he gets it. I don't see that it's worth much more. I certainly wouldn't invest in a car that's been sitting dead for a year with a blown engine. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,752. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Harry, then Kashana and Michael.
I think it was pretty fair.
I think it was very fair.
My agreement thought I paid for the car until I get my car fixed.
I've tried multiple times to reach out to him, and I couldn't get a hold of him, so it's really sad that it had to come to this.
She had to do what she had to do. That's all I can say.
I've learned that you can't help anyone, not even family.
Time to move on. Go on about my business, yes.
I'm a nice person, so I guess you just sometimes can't be nice to everyone.
You know what's so disappointing? She seems like a very lovely young lady. Her father seems like a nice man. He had actually helped to purchase the first car, and I think co-signed a loan for her or bought her the car in 2018 that she then turned over to him. But he's been her stepfather for a long time. How could you be so irresponsible?
And you know she's a single parent of 4 children who relies a lot on her credit.
And her credit on her car.
And
she's maintained her credit.
Yes, except for the fact that her stepfather sort of ruined it for her a little.
He really didn't have a defense.
No.
I don't think he had a defense. I don't think that you borrow somebody's car until your car is fixed 3 years later. I don't think that that's a defense.
Title, Judy Justice.
Are you having a family dispute? Go to judyjustice.tv. Terry Smith is suing her ex-husband, Tony Smith, for 3 ATVs and a lawnmower.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2148, Smith versus Smith.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Smith, this used to be your husband. You haven't been married in a long time, but after your divorce, you sort of remained friendly and you had some business transactions together. What kind of business?
I would refer real estate business to him and refer flipping homes and the construction work.
Did you take part in that as well?
I did.
In what year were you divorced?
2015.
So this briefly is what I gather from the complaint and the answer and the counterclaim. At some point, according to you, you purchased 3 ATVs. Those 3 ATVs were originally supposed to be used in business.
We purchased more than 3.
How many did you purchase?
Those were the 3 that were left. It was 14 of them that we had.
And when you purchased those together as part of a business?
No, those were mine. I purchased it. The business.
14.
Business was mine. Yes.
14?
Yes.
You purchased them, you paid for them?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and you can prove that to me?
I can.
Okay. Do you agree with the fact your former wife purchased the 14 ATVs?
Yes, I agree, but it was underneath an LLC that was formed.
I don't care whether it was under an LLC or a little umbrella or a big shoe. She bought the ATVs.
Yes.
So one of the things that's in question is the ATVs now are in your custody?
The remaining ones are in my home, yes.
3?
Yes, ma'am.
And you want them back?
I do.
She bought them. Why doesn't she get them back?
Because, Your Honor, there is an outstanding invoice for work that I have done for her.
What?
It's construction work and other odds and ends that was helping her.
That's not part of your counterclaim as a set-off, sir. That's not what you say at all.
Okay, and also there is a counterclaim.
You have a counterclaim. That has to do with your truck. So there really is no reason that you are holding those ATVs. Are they new?
No, they were demonstrator models. There's 1 new one and 2 demonstrators.
Okay, so within 5 days, you make arrangements to get those, okay? I assume that you have children together?
No.
So I assume that you are 2 civilized people. I don't know whether you need a police officer to accompany you to get those, but within 5 days, make arrangements to pick them up from his house. They're yours.
I will, thank you.
Are we then finished with your claim?
There's a lawnmower, an electric zero-turn lawnmower. Okay. It's also part of that claim.
Okay, I sort of remember that. Is that an old lawnmower?
No, it was purchased in May of 2021.
And who was it purchased for?
He asked me, since he could not get it on credit, if I would buy it for him, and the next real estate transaction that I referred him, he said when he got paid, he would pay me the $4,800 back.
Okay.
And so when I asked for it, he said he had put it in a separate savings account to save it for me. And I said, well, I don't need you to save me my money.
Got it. So you have the lawnmower?
Yes, ma'am.
You picked that up with the ATVs?
Thank you.
Got it?
Thank you.
Perfect. Now we have to come to your counterclaim. Your counterclaim is sort of interesting and can be, I think, probably equally swiftly disposed of. After your divorce, you needed a truck. You didn't have any money or credit, according to what I've read, and you purchased a truck in your name for him. And the agreement was that you would make the payments on the truck because you couldn't get credit. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
The truck was purchased in what month and year?
August of 2020.
How much did the truck cost?
$58,000, somewhere in there.
And how much of a down payment did you put down?
$500.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's good. You must have had good credit.
I do.
Good. And what were the monthly payments, sir?
900 and I can't remember exactly. It was under 1,000. It was $940 something, I think.
And you paid for the truck the month of August of 2020 and all through 2021. Until when? When was your last payment on the truck that you made, that you can prove to me that you made?
I have all the payments.
Just tell me, when was the last payment you made on the truck?
It was August of this year.
August of 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what your bank records will indicate, that you made a payment of $900 and some odd, August of 2022. And in what month did your former wife repossess the truck, which was in her name?
It was September 20th.
Now you're going to tell me why you repossessed the truck.
Caption coming up.
Let's talk about the violations. Driving without tags, only 2 months.
Judy shrugs.
When we forget or we're traveling and we don't get registrations for our cars, we don't drive those cars. Because if you're driving with expired tags, that's against the law.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Terry and Tony.
Terry Smith claims her ex-husband, Tony Smith, owes for 3 ATVs and a lawnmower. Tony is countersuing for the value of a truck.
Okay, you made a payment of $900 and some odd.
Yes, ma'am.
August of 2022. And in what month did your former wife repossess the truck, which was in her name?
It was September 20th.
Okay, now you're going to tell me why you repossessed the truck.
Yes, that truck's first payment was due on October 30th of 2020. I made the payment on November 28th.
No, I'm not interested in history.
Okay.
I'm interested in, he says that he was making payments on the truck. You say he stopped making payments on the truck, which is why you repossessed it. You didn't want your credit to be at risk.
It was 2 of the first payments that I made, and I said, I'm not doing this again like I did on the last truck where I make every payment. But the insurance, I asked for the insurance to be paid since April of 2020, and I requested this on June the 28th of 2022, and I said, here's the insurance premiums I've paid on the GMC truck since we've had it, and it was $1,596. His reply was, I'm happy to pay the insurance on my truck, but don't just dump 2.5 years on me at a time. I will need to break this up into 3 increments. This was June. I don't have any money. The insurance and taxes, the taxes this year was the first time he's ever paid taxes on the vehicle, and it was 1 year late. He drove on an expired tag for a total year. The reason
Is that just a second, is that correct?
I'm sorry?
Did you drive on an expired tag
No,
for a
ma'am,
year?
it was only a few months late.
So you drove
It wasn't an entire year.
How many months?
2 months.
Well, that's too long.
I agree.
And was your agreement that you would maintain the insurance for the truck as well?
That was something that we discussed, and because of the real reason she actually agreed to purchase the truck, we had a previous truck that was also I was driving, and because of the LLC that the truck was under, it was a very high commercial insurance rate. So she felt that it would benefit her to get another truck and come out from under the commercial rate that she was paying for insurance, and she was going to put it in a group insurance policy.
Where is the truck? Where is the truck? You've had possession of the truck.
That's correct.
So you get all the benefit of the truck, and she gets all the detriment.
I'm just referring to what we
I'm
discussed.
just, what I'm not getting from you, sir, is any sense of, the whole idea was this is going to be my truck. As soon as I finish making all the payments on the truck is going to be mine, right?
That's correct.
And if you didn't make payments on the truck, absolutely, she has a right to repossess it, if that was your agreement. And you acknowledge that that's your agreement, right?
That is the agreement, but I have made every payment, and I have paid all the taxes.
Well, the word paid all the taxes eventually, didn't pay them when due.
That happened once.
Didn't pay them when due, pay them eventually. What about the insurance?
The insurance, I agreed to catch up and pay her back for once she told me what it was.
Okay.
I never received any information about the insurance amount until she sent it all in one.
Okay, she sent it to you in one email. That was in June, and you said I couldn't pay it, and she repossessed the car in September. Between June and September, did you make any insurance payment?
No, I did not.
Why?
It was a lot of things going on at that time that there was money owed to me as well from her. So there was a lot of discussion going back and forth about that.
Well, but one thing is clean. You know about the insurance, and if there's money that she owes you from construction or real estate or whatever it is, you have to put that in compartments. Where is the truck now?
I took the truck back and it is sold.
Did you ever tell him?
He wouldn't talk to me. He hasn't talked to me since May.
So you had the truck for approximately 2 years?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much in total did you pay for the truck?
The exact amount added up was $18,736.
So you paid approximately $9,000 a year, right?
Correct.
Your Honor, we had an agreement of $1,200 a month on the truck to cover the insurance and taxes up front before it was purchased.
That's not true.
Well, if you paid approximately $9,000, Mr. Smith, and you used it for business, correct? That's what you used the truck for. So you paid approximately $750 a month if you paid $9,000 each year for the 2 years, $1,870. You say the payments were $900 a month. That means that there was a shortfall.
Can I bring us? It was more than 2 years. It was August of 2020 until
September.
August of this year.
Well, that's 2 years.
There's also a down payment
of $500. I'm not.
Okay.
So that's $750, sir. I always have a problem with people who are no longer married and no longer happy with each other, where one party has the obligation and has all the liability on a vehicle, including their credit and their insurance, when the other person is being either irresponsible or blinking at certain violations. Let's talk about the violations. Driving without tags, only 2 months. When we forget or we're traveling and we don't get registrations for our cars, we don't drive those cars. Because if you're driving with expired tags, that's against the law.
I would like to point out, if I may, that the bill for that obviously went to her address. It was not given to me. Now, that's not my. I understand that I need to be aware of it, but I never received that bill.
I gave it to him the very month it came in.
Just a second.
That's not true.
Just a second. You're a big boy. You know when your car has to be registered, you have a little yellow tag on the back like everybody else. And insurance, you know, you're supposed to pay insurance. That was your agreement. You were supposed to pay insurance. And you didn't pay insurance.
Caption, coming up.
She's going to show me how much was left on the loan and how much she sold the truck for. If she sold the truck for more than was left on the loan, the difference between, you're looking at me, the difference between that belongs to you.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Terry and Tony.
Terry Smith is accusing ex-husband Tony Smith of wrongfully keeping 3 ATVs and a lawnmower. Tony claims Terry owes him for the cost of a truck.
Okay, well, are you working now, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. She sold the truck. How much did you sell it for?
$48,000.
And how much was left on the loan?
48. It was even.
Well, show me.
It was even. Oh.
I'd like to see that.
Ooh.
So $48,000 was, he paid $18,000.
Hang on 1 second, I got it.
Can I submit this to you?
What is that?
Or this, my bank statement showing the payment?
No, you told me. I
Okay.
accepted it.
Okay.
She doesn't dispute it, and I accept it.
I do have a copy of the title here somewhere.
What I'm looking for, Mr. Smith, just so that you know, what I'm having her look for from me, she's going to show me how much was left on the loan and how much she sold the truck for. If she sold the truck for more than was left on the loan, the difference between, you're looking at me, the difference between that belongs to you.
Oh, I see.
Because you paid it, right?
I see. Yes, ma'am.
Got it? That
Yep.
fair? Did she tell you that she sold the truck?
No, ma'am.
He went and bought a truck 2 days later, so he was able to buy a truck.
Okay. Would you find those papers for me while you're looking for those papers for me? Mr. Smith, did you buy another truck?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Did you put a down payment on it?
Yes, ma'am.
And you own it now?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're driving it now?
That's correct.
What would you do with a second truck?
Well, I was forced to buy one because I had
I
no
understand
warning.
I understand you were forced to buy one, sir. But if you had the truck and you weren't going to use 2 trucks, you would sell this truck for whatever amount you sold it for. And if there was any overage, you'd get
I offered to purchase the truck from her. In fact, she understood that I was planning to purchase the truck from her.
Don't tell me what she understood. Right now, you don't need a truck, and I'm going to find out whether or not she has to give you any money as a result of what she sold the truck for.
This bill of sale does not have the amount on it. I didn't realize that. I'll have to get that from.
Well, this is the time to get it.
I'm sorry, I did not realize it didn't have it on there.
Okay. Oh, you sold it to a company?
I did.
Oh, okay. Not to a private party?
No.
Is that the same company that you purchased it from?
No, I purchased it from a different dealership.
Okay. Do you have the exact amount that the loan, the extant loan was?
The original loan was 60.
No.
I'm sorry. The exit loan?
Yeah, the exit.
It was between 48 and 49,000, give or take. Hang on.
And the truck
I have it.
Was purchased for 56, so that amounts for his payments plus interest.
I have it. That's the difference of what they gave me.
Kevin brings a document to Judy.
I originally put the down payment on that truck as well. He did not.
That doesn't matter.
Yeah, that was the difference they gave me in the sale.
Okay, so this is the difference.
Yes.
Between what was on the loan.
Exactly.
Between what was on the loan.
Exactly.
And this. Okay, so the excess, sir, was $2,225. She put in the deposit for the truck when it was originally purchased of $500?
She did not.
Yes.
Who did?
I did, and I have a copy. I have that in this record right here.
Show me.
We added tires. We added all kinds of extra stuff and everything to it. I paid for that.
I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah.
This is actually.
Just show me.
It's on my phone. Can I show it? Can I?
From 2020?
Yes, what had happened, the amount actually came off of this statement copy.
Let me see.
Can I submit this too, where I made the 2 payments on the truck when he first started? I made the very second payment and the 4th payment on that truck because he wouldn't make it. I also notified him on June the 20th that he had 30 days to get the truck in his name, and I never heard anything.
You can't notify him within 30 days to get it in his name. That's not the agreement. Let me see.
Yeah. There's this.
Judy reviews a document on Tony's phone.
Yep. Purchased authorized August 22nd, and this is 2020 for $500. Okay, so the difference of the $500 that came out of your account brings the total excess that she received $1,725. She's coming to pick up her lawnmower within 5 days and her 3 ATVs. At the same time, she's going to give you $1,725, which is the difference between what was owed on the truck and the profit that was made that she didn't pay for. We're finished here. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Terry, then Tony.
I think it was fair.
Well, it was a little less than I thought I was going to get back from it, and there's a lot more to the story that obviously I couldn't get in.
Well, I mean, I had the truth, so.
She understands why that is because there's an outstanding invoice from me for work that I've done that she's refusing to pay for.
I have supported him since 2003.
Construction work, I did a lot of planning and helping her with her current home that she's living in.
It is just one thing after another, and I could never owe him one dime.
I mean, everything was fine between us.
Has trauma bonded me and manipulated me and gaslit me for all these years and kept me around just in case other relationships didn't work out.
Until she found out I was seeing someone else.
No. I had been asking for everything of mine that he kept and held hostage for a long time before that, but he's probably had many more before that. I just didn't know about them.
But I'm happy.
I was thinking he was making me think that we were reconciling while he was using me.
I don't see us talking anymore.
The bank is finally closed, and the bad bargain has just been a nightmare. It's been hundreds of bad bargains.
No more business ventures.
Judy and Sarah.
You see, it's always a mistake, unless you're married, to co-sign a loan for anybody. A boyfriend, a somebody.
An ex-husband.
Especially an ex-husband.
Yeah. Because I think what you said was true. There's always one person that gets no benefit and gets slighted and has their name on the line for their credit for future purchases that they want to make, and the guy who gets to drive the truck.
And the guy gets to drive the truck. Of course, he says that the reason she got all hot and bothered is because he has a girlfriend now. I would have felt a little more sympathy towards him had he not gone out 2 weeks later and bought a new truck.
Yeah, well.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to Judy Justimer, Jack McCurcheon for tuition and administrative fees.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2126, Slago versus McCurcheon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judy turns to Robin.
You run a school.
Yes, ma'am. It's a program.
Is it a school or a program?
It's a program.
What's the difference?
The program is not a school where the children come every day. They come twice a week. Parents.
They come twice a week online?
No, we are
in person.
In person, yes.
Okay, so twice a week they are there at a brick and mortar place?
Yes.
And how long have you had this program?
We actually started this program during the lockdown in 2020 spring. So this is at the end of our first semester of our third year.
Okay, and tell me, who runs the program?
I do.
You have an educational background?
I do. I have a master's in education.
Does anybody run the program with you?
I have a staff, but I'm the sole director.
Is this an annual program?
We do operate on a semesterly basis as far as payments, but the classes just roll over from first semester to second semester.
And is there a contract?
Yes.
Okay, and you're going to show me the contract that the defendant signed on behalf of his son?
Yes.
Because that's what this case is about.
Yes.
The only interesting part of the case is your son was enrolled in the program. He was terminated from the program for, let's say, misconduct.
That's true.
And it was misconduct that was replicated in violation of the rules at least 3 times.
Kind of.
Not kind of, at least 3 times that you acknowledge.
Okay.
That's not an okay. That's not an okay. That's either a yes or a no. I mean, I read about 3 instances of cheating. You acknowledge that in your answer.
Well, it's different. It's different.
You mean he cheated differently?
No, he didn't cheat
Yes, well,
differently.
that's what...
I mean, I can explain.
It was explained in the papers.
Okay.
And you weren't there, so you can't explain. But you acknowledge the fact that he cheated. He was given a warning. You were advised. He cheated again. You were given a warning, and he was allowed to continue. On the 3rd such event, the school terminated him. Is that what I read?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what you acknowledge in your papers?
Yes, yes.
Okay, well, that's a yes. And he was within a semester. You had paid the tuition and then tried to reverse the payment because you paid on a credit card.
Yes, I paid with credit card, yes.
Okay, and then when you got the bill, you challenged that payment, which you had in fact received, and whatever you told the credit card company as a result of what you told them, the payment was reversed and taken off your credit card.
That is correct.
Right. And so they are here now seeking that tuition payment from a court. That's why we're here, to see whether contractually, because this is a breach of contract action, you were obligated to pay the tuition even though your son was not in the program because he was dismissed for cause, which you acknowledge. Are we clear on where we are?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So now I'm going to look at the contract.
I'd like to add that...
Just let me look at the contract first.
Judy reviews a document.
If you see contract, they're signed by my party. I want to see it too, because I don't see my name. I sign a contract. That's a statement, probably, or it's a...
It's a payment agreement.
Yeah, that's not a contract.
Yeah, payment agreement is a contract, sir.
But signed by me?
Well, it says signed, Arena and Jack.
Okay.
Is Arena your wife?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. So this says, I understand that payments are due even if classes or memberships are dropped, subject to the refund policy. Well, what's the refund policy, and where is that in writing?
It is on our website, and they've signed it. It was a form that they had to sign.
Well, I'd like to see the form that they signed, because I have to see what the terms are of that.
These are the terms of the refund.
Robin hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
Thank you.
That's a screenshot of our website.
No, the website is unimportant to me. You say you have an agreement signed by them. I'd like to see it.
Well, the agreement that we have signed was the installment agreement, so I'm sorry.
Well, I only have one payment agreement. What I said I want to see is a refund policy. You said you have that they signed. I don't see
They don't sign the policy. They sign the agreement. The policy is a written policy.
Well, I would like to see the written policy.
That's what we have on our website, and it's clearly...
No.
No? Okay.
No, what you have to do is you have to incorporate something by agreement in this contract. If you say the refund policy as outlined in the website Because other than that, it's meaningless.
Okay.
You know, you're saying we have a refund policy, and we assume that you looked on the website to see what the policy is.
We also do go over it in parent meetings with the parents.
That you can't do because you have a written agreement.
Right.
And anything that's outside of that agreement, unless it's referenced in the agreement, is inadmissible because the intention of it is to somehow change or modify the terms of your written contract. Okay, so in what month did the defendant's son start the program?
In August of 2021.
And it runs in 2 semesters. And when was he terminated?
He was terminated in February of 2022.
You were in a semester program?
Yes.
So am I correct that the first 2 episodes of cheating were in the first semester?
Yes.
When?
The first one was early in November. It happened to be the 3rd week of our 2nd semester. The next one was a couple of weeks later in the same month of November.
Okay, so the semester had started?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Semester.
Yes. And on what day in February was he terminated?
He was terminated on February 24th, I believe, yes.
And when you terminated, the defendant, I assume, paid the entire semester's tuition for the 2nd semester.
The 2nd semester, he signed the installment agreement, which is what you have there.
This is a payment agreement.
Right, that's it. He agreed to pay in installments.
No, it says I agree to pay all charges by due dates according to the payment plan. I don't have a signed payment plan from anybody. Do you have one?
I'm sorry, that's what we use for our signed payment plan.
Well, you should use something different. This is not a payment plan. This says he will pay according to a payment plan. I'm looking for the payment plan. You pay by the month, you pay by the semester. How do you pay?
It's a semesterly fee that's broken into 4 payments, so they don't have to pay it all up front.
Okay.
They can choose to, but...
And so when was the defendant's last payment?
They paid through the semester.
Through what semester?
2nd semester.
Okay, so they paid in full?
Through the installment. So what happens is they agree to be automatically billed. And so every month, a certain amount comes out.
Just a second. So what you're saying is when they sign up, they give you authority to pull out from their bank.
Yes.
Whatever the tuition is for that month.
Right.
Okay. And according to your records, when was the last payment that you received for the defendant's son prior to terminating him?
Prior to terminating him, we received a payment in February.
And you terminated him on February 24th?
Yes.
How much was that payment?
It was, have it right here.
Robin flips through documents.
You know what? I don't know.
$350 every
It's
month.
300, that's right. $350.
I know I got charged the extra month, so I know the number.
Okay. So it was $350 that you paid the beginning of February, and he was there in February.
That is correct.
Okay. In what month did you dispute the charge?
Well,
No, not well. I said in what month?
May. I only realized in May she's been charging.
Just a second.
Caption, coming up.
He was plagiarized by teachers.
It was plagiarized by teachers.
He was given notice because he lied on a test by teacher, yeah? But it's not exactly what happened.
They're not in the business of expelling children. They're in the business of keeping children in school.
But
you really have to get this through your head.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Robin and Jack.
Robin Slagle claims her customer, Jack McCurcheon, owes for tuition and administrative fees.
So you paid in February, and your son was there in February.
That is correct.
Did you pay in March?
It was taken out of my account without me knowing, but yes.
Is that $350?
That is correct.
And did you pay in April?
I did pay in April.
Okay. Now, the May payment, is the May payment the payment that you canceled?
No, on the May, I also paid for a May payment. Looking at my statements, I said, why are we paying for the child? He doesn't go to school anymore. And that's where I called them. And then I called my credit card company, explained to what happened. They said, we are going to charge the money back to your account. And that's when I kind of looked through paperwork, and I'm I'm an immigrant in this country. I don't read really well. I can speak. And my son, he's a young guy, and he knows exactly what it is, and that's what I brought him. I said, can you see, do we owe these people money? And if you guys allow it, I can have Alex to explain what here shows.
Just see it. He doesn't have to explain anything to me.
Okay.
I'm not new to the country, and I was legally trained, so I don't need your son. I assume you're not legally trained?
I am not.
To interpret something, a piece of paper. So now I will look at the piece of paper that you're relying on, but I want to tell you this, sir.
Jack hands a document to Kevin.
I pay the tuition for a lot of people, a lot, because I have 13 grandchildren in school.
Okay.
I'll take that, Kevin. Thank you, I'm sorry. I know that if one of my kids or grandkids goes to school and gets expelled, and I've paid the tuition, because I'm not on a payment plan. Parents send the bill directly. and so I pay the tuition, but I know if one of the kids in November, once I pay the tuition, gets caught cheating on a test or plagiarizing a paper, and he or she is dismissed from the school, they're not going to give me my tuition back, even though he's not in school. I'm not going to get the tuition back for that semester.
That's true.
That's what I'm telling you. I know that. So now I'm going to see what you want me to read that suggests that in this case, even though your son was terminated for cause from the school for cheating.
Dismissal versus termination is different.
No, it's not different at all. It's this exact same thing. Dismissed, terminated, expelled, all the same thing. If you look them up under synonyms for each other in the dictionary, you will find they're all the same. He was excised from the school because he cheated despite multiple warnings. So he was expelled from cause. I just want you to understand that. Did you go to college?
Currently enrolled.
Currently. Stand up. You look like a nice young man. Where do you go to school?
Cal Poly Pomona.
And who pays the tuition?
I do.
Now, what's your first name?
Alex.
Now, Alex, you do know that if you got expelled from college for cheating in the middle of a semester, you wouldn't get your tuition back for that semester. You do know that?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I want to know. Well, that's what we're dealing with here.
Could I add something?
Sure.
Well, according to their honesty policy, they made a clear difference between dismissal and expulsion.
I'm going to look at it. Okay?
Okay.
Alex sits. Judy reviews the document.
Okay, so what you gave me now acknowledges that you received the refund policy. Thank you very much, because she wasn't able to prove that she gave it to you, but now you gave it to me, so I know you were given the refund policy when you enrolled your son in school.
So we weren't given, but it's something they have it on their website for you to...
Just a second. Well, then you look. You don't have to sign. Then you looked at the website. You gave me this. Do you understand? That's what I mean, legal.
I went and tried to understand.
Well, you should have done it before.
Well,
you were perfectly capable of doing it before.
When I signed a contract, I signed and I explained everything.
You just told me 5 minutes ago that you didn't sign any contract. Well, now you acknowledge that you signed the contract. I'm just reading this that you gave me.
A contract has to be a complete contract. If
just
there is
a second,
something...
For somebody who's, not here, not from this country, and doesn't understand things, you seem to understand things very well.
I know the contract has to be completed.
Well, that's very good. A lot of people don't know that.
So if I give a contract for a statement, then I say, go in my website to read about our refund policy. That's not part of the contract. That's their rules, no? I didn't sign refund policy.
You don't have to sign a refund policy. You just have to be aware of it.
If I don't know how to get into website or don't...
You gave me the evidence,
But this was done after everything done. I looked into it. Okay?
You were certainly aware of how to do it, either before or after.
When I sign contract with someone, I disclose everything, and they initial, and they get copies. I get copies, and that's a legal bonding contract.
Good. What law school did you go to?
None.
Well, there are two things here, but the final piece here says, the consequence for academic dishonesty or plagiarism is a score of 0 on the assignment and possibly dismissal from the class.
Okay.
So your son did that in the first semester at least twice. Repeated dishonesty can result in suspension or expulsion. Now, Now you can stand up because your father says he doesn't understand everything. I think he understands everything just fine. But in case he wants to have you there. Now, when you were discussing this with your father, did you have any conversation with him that suggested to him that, you know, if I went to college and I cheated 3 times or 4 times or plagiarized a paper and I was kicked out of school, I wouldn't get my tuition back? Did you tell him that?
No, we had similar talks, but no, nothing on the school. We talked about, for instance, the signing contract for, let's say, a 1-year lease agreement to live somewhere, but if you breach the contract and they decide to kick you out, it's the same thing as expulsion. You're not required to finish the 1-year contract with them. You don't have to continue paying.
If they decide.
What are you kidding?
I am not. If you get evicted from a property, do you have to continue paying the entire year's lease?
Yeah. If you breach a lease, he or she can evict you. And yes, you will be responsible for the remainder of the lease.
Oh, I was unaware of that.
Yes, you will be responsible for the remainder of the lease. You have to understand, and your father has to understand, the reason that he was expelled is his fault. And the reason he was expelled had nothing to do with them. It had to do with your father, because you were put on notice that he was plagiarizing and cheating on tests.
Caption coming up.
If what you're suggesting is the 3 times that your son was caught cheating were the only times he cheated, you're deluding yourself. He got caught 3 times. Because if these were the only 3 times that he cheated, he is the unluckiest person on the planet.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Robin and Jack.
Robin Slagle has accused her customer, Jack McCurshian, of refusing to pay tuition. Jack claims he is not required to pay because his son was dismissed from her school.
You were put on notice, and instead of being more vigilant, the conduct continued. He lives in your house. How old is he?
14.
14. Well,
I want to ask about this plagiarizing thing, which it is, because remember, beginning you asked me that he was plagiarized by teachers, which I was not.
He was plagiarized by teachers.
Like he was given notice because he lied on a test by teacher, yeah? But it's not exactly what happened.
Well, then you should have, just a second, then you should have contested it, sir.
Well,
you should have contested it. Did you say?
If they decided they don't want him to be out of the school, they don't want him to be there.
No.
What do you do? I mean, you go
what do you
fight
do?
with them?
What do you do? You pay the tuition for that semester because that's your contractual obligation, and you tell your son you better straighten up. And if I have to take you to a psychiatrist, if I have to take you to a therapist, if I have to find a more rigid school environment, I'm going to do that.
Well, he really didn't cheat.
You really have to get this through your head.
When he says cheating, last time he was expelled from school. Do we have a...
No, don't look at her.
That day he had an excellent score on his math, and his last test was his history, and he forgot to learn the history, and he did have a paper with him, but he did not cheat it. Actually, there is no proof he cheated that day.
All right. They're not in the business of expelling children. They're in the business of keeping children in school. How many other students were expelled from the school the semester that this defendant's son was expelled?
0.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're in business of keeping children in school. How many
my
children?
son was that bad for her to expel her.
She said they didn't expel any other children. I'm going to ask her, how many children were enrolled in the program at the same time the defendant's son was enrolled in the program?
Approximately 70, 75.
Okay, and of the 70 to 75 students, the only student expelled was the defendant's son.
Yes, ma'am.
That should tell you something, sir. Stop making excuses. Okay. I didn't tell you, he didn't look at the paper, he had it underneath him, but he didn't look at it. Well, plagiarizing, so he copied from somebody on a paper that was supposed to be original work, did it once, he did it twice. Do you understand your son has a problem?
Well, we all have problems.
No, I never had a problem being expelled from school, sir, for cheating. I never had a problem being expelled from school for cheating.
I have lied.
I have 5 children and 13 grandchildren. All have completed college, some professional school. None of them have ever been expelled for cheating. That's a lot of people.
Do you feel it's fair to expel a child from a school because of
cheating?
Cheating?
Absolutely. Not that I usually let people ask me questions, but the answer is Absolutely, because if 70 children are working hard to get good grades and studying and creating original works when they're supposed to create original works, and your son who's getting a 99 on a math test when he's been getting low scores on tests all of a sudden becomes a shining star one day, and it's a pattern, and then they find another cheat sheet under his bottom. That's something that suggests to the other 70 students that are trying to do the right thing, that it's okay to cheat. And so if you want to cheat on this test to get a 99, it's okay. You can't run a school where you permit kids to mingle with kids who are trying with kids who are cheating. So do I think it's fair? Absolutely. Okay, how much money was reversed by this bank?
$1,050 plus $45, a $15 fee per transaction.
$1,095. Okay, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,095. Sir, your problem is not with the plaintiff. Your problem's with your son.
He's like all of us. He made a mistake. And
No, he didn't make one mistake. I'm going to tell you something. Honestly, I used to say when I was practicing in a different court that if criminals got caught the first time or every time that they committed a crime, they'd stop committing crimes. Problem is, they commit a crime and they don't get caught. And then they commit another crime and they don't get caught. Then they commit the third crime and they get caught and they're brought to court. And their lawyer argues this is their first arrest. Not their first crime, because they can't argue that, but it's a first arrest. So if what you're suggesting is the 3 times that your son was caught cheating were the only times he cheated, you're deluding yourself. He got caught 3 times. Because if these were the only 3 times that he cheated, he is the unluckiest person on the planet. Okay, we're done here. 1095, judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
Jack, then Robin.
I felt the difference was between the wording, what it means as far as being expelled versus being like sent home.
I'm extremely pleased. This was totally a matter of honesty and integrity. And obviously it stems from the father down to the son.
But he explained that's the same word. And again, that's why you come to court, and she did what she had to do.
We have kids that try to cross the line, come close to that line. But as I mentioned, our instructors are pretty savvy and they're on it, and we can tell pretty much, so.
I am happy finally done. It's been a burden, it's been a stress, and hopefully it's done.
Cheaters never win.
In chambers, Sarah and Judy.
So I think it's really important for the plaintiffs, as the runners of a homeschooling system or a schooling system, to have a better contract for the parents that are signing, especially with a payment plan option. There should be exhibits attached to the signature page, not just referencing, oh, we're agreeing that we read the policy from the website. It's just as easy for you to reprint it, attach it, and require a signature, an initial on the bottom, so that you don't have parents like these that say, I never went to the website, I never saw it.
I agree with you.
If you have problems like this, there's no denying the fact that you initialed each page and each policy.
I think that it's a learning experience because they just started the program in 2020. And this is probably the first experience that they've had because he's the first never expelled anybody else. But they'll clean up the contract.
For sure.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
হ্যাঁ এটা ঠিক আর শোনো ওই ম্যাপটা কিন্তু ভালো আছে এটা শোনো ডিসকর্ডে কিন্তু মনে করো কেউ সচরাচর কেউ লাইভ করে তো আমি দেখার বিষয়ে কখন কি করতে পারে কেউ কি আমাকে ডিসকর্ডে স্পন্সর করবা তাহলে আমি লাইভে স্পন্সর করে দিতে পারবো
কোনো সমস্যা নাই আমি নিয়ে দিব নি
ওকে ওকে
দেখা যাক কিছু স্পন্সর দিতে পারবে না কোনে নামু
ওরে স্কোয়াড বক্সিং জিমে নামাও বক্সিং জিম
বক্সিং কোন মাসো বক্সিং করে একটা পড়ার শিখা দেব বক্সিং ম্যাচ বক্সিং কোন মাসো
বক্সিং জিমে নামবো আমরা
বক্সিং করব না আমরা আরে সব ম্যাডাম টিম আরে ম্যাডাম
ও ভাই চারপাশে কত এনিমি উঠতেছে ভাই রে ভাই
আচ্ছা আমি আড্ডা গ্রুপে গেলাম তোমরা তাকে অনেকক্ষণ মজা হইলো
টাটা ভাই টাটা
অবশ্যই কথা